Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. I'm your host, James Banks, and joining me, as always, is Professor and Striker from HLTV and Sponge, the #1 analyst in CSGO. And we've all got a little bit of a different background going on, at least. And Sponge, just from going off your tweets, you're pretty reamed out, but you're looking semi-happy at least, mate.
How the fuck do you uninstall Google Hangouts? I've just gone add remove programs, and it's not here. Somebody answer this question. Hit me up. I can't log into Twitter. But yeah, let's do this shit.
There we go. There we go.
I almost thought you were going to complain about something in Germany again.
No, it's fine. I actually like the German people, especially here in Cologne. Everybody's nice. Everybody's lovely. It's just that some of the shit here is backwards, like credit cards not being readily available to use at everywhere, like the rest of the first world that I live in 95% of the time. So anyway, let's not get me too mad.
Don't worry, I know you're paying German people and the country is amazing, but there's a lot of things that are fucked up with it, and that's a good start for us to do here. But let's get into some of our breaking news. Lucas, have you got the sound cue for us?
One of them is tied to the Germans, so that's kind of...
Yes, it is actually. This can work. Lucas, give us that breaking news tune.
Drop it.
Alright, I'm good now. I'm ready.
Did the music get you hyped, Chad? Did it make you ready for this?
It centered me a little bit more.
There we go. All right, so the first one we're going to be starting with is the bravado to denial. Now, is this a good move for them? Is this a bad move for them? We kind of know the past on actually denial not being such the greatest organization, but have they turned things around, and do these guys really know what they're getting themselves into?
There's an old saying, James. Very old saying. It goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool you 3 times, we're all fucking stupid. Now, I think this is the point here where we go, Denial as an organization hasn't really done the right things. I haven't read into the new organization at all, but I think considering just track record, it's probably not the best of moves. Plus, they've split up the team. Now they have to find a new 5th just so they can stay in America. I understand that. I don't know why they like America. That's probably one of the things that I'm really struggling with a bit more. But no, I understand they're from a region where they have to do it, and making this sacrifice, I definitely get it. It's something that I very similarly went through within my career. So them having to make that choice, it's a no-brainer, right? You want to chase your dreams. You want to be able to live the life that, and compete at the highest level possible, and this is the choice that they've had to make. Hopefully they don't get scorned, because if they do, then we've all fucked up in allowing this to happen again. Yeah. But all in all, for them to chase the dream, it makes sense. I get it.
I mean, the whole idea of just buying the Denial brand, I mean, I don't know how their resume in other games, but in CS, it's not like you're buying a great brand that just fell off a bit, and then you're kind of, I don't know, reinvigorating it. It's just a brand that was pretty bad for most of the time in CSGO. So kind of what's even the point? It sounds pretty weird to me. I just didn't buy that idea from the start.
I mean, the one thing I'm not getting is why there are only 4 people, right? Why did just Detroit decide to stay with the former org? Is it just because of his ties to the organization, or that was never really explained, was it?
His brother is the CEO.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know that, but is that really a reason for you to just leave the team that you've been representing for God knows how long and stuff? I'm not entirely sure where this is going to lead, especially obviously they speak English anyway, so finding a 5th is probably not going to be such a big problem for them. But I just don't understand how they just ended up splitting up after going through all this.
I mean, if you read the official statement from Bravado, the organization, it feels like they didn't feel really, I don't know, the way they put it is kind of as the players fuck them, in the way that they had the opportunity to close out this the Indiegogo campaign with some sponsorship coming in or whatever, but the players decided not to take that and to just refund the whole crowdfunding thing and go to a new organization. So there was an option for them to stay, and the players, I guess the 4 players decided to leave, and then the Detrony didn't want to do that, and then that's where the I don't know, rift between the 4 and the 1 player happened.
I mean, that's the only thing that kind of comes to mind, right? But what happens to Detrony now? He's without a team. I don't think we expect him to join a top tier North American organization. So I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen to him.
I think he also said something along the lines that he's going to go and rebuild a new team in South Africa or something like that. So
yeah. I mean, that's probably the course of action that he has to take at this point, because like I said, I just doubt he's going to have the opportunities.
He was the oldest one in that team, right? Like he's 28 years of age. So I think the fact of the matter is, if he didn't see this denial thing as an opportunity to, like, if you think about this guy's life to this point, he's been grinding just to get the team to this level. Obviously, big sacrifices have been made by him and his family to get the team to the point where they were in America for that period of time, right? Now, I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but I would say the fact that they would have picked this North American organization over, you know, the crowdfunding and stuff like that is, they were probably sold a bit of a pipe dream, right? I had the same theory. Chris Badawi, whatever the guy is named, however you pronounce it. Now look, Australians are very skeptical of Americans 95% of the time because they just do a fucking shitload of this, and we're not about that. We're straight shooters. So I was skeptical of this motherfucker from the very beginning. But Monte Cristo was the reason that, you know, it gave a bit of validity to the whole thing. This denial thing, it's obviously a similar picture being painted. Oh, you know, we have all these lawyers, we can get you the visas, the this, the that, because this organization, for the period of time they were living in America, they probably didn't have the correct visas to be doing what they were doing, right? We get the ESTA, you can go there for 3 months, you have to leave, it gets reset. You can do that. You can do that as long as it doesn't appear that you're doing it to live in North America. Now, Denial have obviously offered them a lot here, maybe a salary or maybe more money than they were getting before. The problem is, this is how this is going to pan out. We don't actually have any idea. We should really be hoping for the best, but I hope these players have prepared for the worst, because the likelihood is a lot of these organizations sell the dream that we can get you a visa to America, and they just can't fucking do it because it's not easy, right? It's not an easy thing at all. It's very difficult. There's lots of shit that they have to go through. America, especially in its current state with a lot going on, there's probably a lot of delays in all of this. So all in all, for these guys, if they're able to grab a fifth that they're happy with, you know, look, if you could look at that objectively, just with the team on paper, okay, Detroni, he's the older player in the team. Maybe they bring in some fresh blood. Maybe, I don't know, who knows where the team is going to go. All in all, for these 4 kids, let's hope the best thing works out. On a Counter-Strike perspective, them grabbing a fifth, I don't really know the South African scene very intimately, so I don't know who they'd look to replace him with, but I'm sure there's players. Was the other team down there that you always versus them in the finals? It used to be called Energy or something like that. So I assume, I'm sure that there's players for them to get. It's just, my concern is, you know, I've been a part of this bullshit. I've been a part of it multiple times. 10 years ago, CGS, same kind of nonsense. And then the same thing with Renegades when it first kicked off, being sold this fucking pipe dream that was never even a possibility because the cunt was just a liar. So I hope that for these guys' sake, it's not like that, and it all works out, because what do we got here? Sonic, 20, Fady, come on. Let it have a 20, Elusive, 25, JT, 19. These guys are kids, man. Like, you know, let's just hope for the best for them, and, you know, see some good results out of them coming forward.
It's kind of making the best of a bad situation, right, where it could end up for these guys. But on to the next part of breaking news. Now, this one's a little bit kind of not 100% confirmed yet, thrown out there. Could be a huge spanner in the works, but Smooya getting benched and potentially benching himself. First of all, why would you do that to start off with? And second of all, does this mean we're going to see Next back potentially?
I literally just read about this as I landed, so I'll let someone else get me up to speed before I get cracking.
I mean, this is fairly new. This has only been reported a couple of hours ago.
Yeah.
By DK, was it?
Yes, DP.
Yeah, about 2 hours ago. So this is still very, very fresh, and we just ended up adding it very last minute. But I mean, that's probably the course of action that I would expect Big to take if something like that happened. Obviously, like they had a 6-man roster, right? But the problem is at what stage is Nex's issue with, was it a wrist? It was, right? At what stage is that? Like, is he actually going to be able to come back if Smooya is already benched? I mean, I'm guessing Smooya already has to. Actually, no. Nex is listed as a coach, right? Yeah. Okay. So I mean, so we'll have to see for the major, because that's the next thing that we're going to see Big at, and it's only the second stage as well. So this is like 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to see what actually happens, but that's probably where you would expect them to go, especially when they actually added Next to the roster instead of a coach, instead of like the
we talked about it when that was actually the news, and I said maybe they're just like just being ready if something happens, so they can replace their coach coach and put him in and have a player that is actually decent at the game. No offenses, this sounds like a shot at Legia, so it's not. Just usually coaches aren't really playing the game. And it kind of turns out that they probably knew about this being a possibility, so that's why they actually put Nex in. Even though, like, we had an interview with Smuja at E-League last week, and he said, like, Nex's wrist isn't really recovering as they wanted, as they expected it to be. So if that's true, then that's a really weird situation Big R in right now. I mean,
if that is the case, like, Smoya obviously has to play the major. There's not really another option. Like, you don't want to have Nex who can't even properly play. If that's the case, who knows? You don't want to have him play at the majors. So I'm guessing Smoya will just come back for that time being. But it just puts Big in a really shitty situation that they will just play the major with a dead lineup, right? If that's what's going to happen.
God bless dead lineups at the major.
Dead lineups at the major. How many times have we fucking heard that?
Well,
that's okay.
It sucks. It sucks that may even be a consideration, right? But who knows? Because we've seen from Smuja in the past a lot of tweets, a lot of action on social media where he has been saying some things, like making comments about full German rosters are better than 4, or like he's made those comments a lot, right? And he is another one of these people who is very new to this, right? We know what kind of personality he has. I think it's refreshing to have somebody who's willing to be a heel and doesn't even know that they're being the heel, right? I respect the kid for just being himself. I think that obviously he has a lot of growing to do and maturing to do, and we all do, and we're always doing it. But this here could just be more talk, right? I'm not saying DK's report is incorrect. I'm not saying any of the information is wrong, because he tends to be right a lot of the time. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of talk that goes on, and this kid says a lot of things. So it could be one of those cases again. If it's not, and he is genuinely not going to be part of the team, then that leads to me. Smuja is the best AWPer in that team. If you're going to let Tabson become the primary AWPer, then you've just taken away a huge part of your firepower on a consistent basis. If they're going to go for a more hybrid style, try and do something that you're seeing more out of a liquid, I can understand that one there. But I think the whole situation going down at this point, it's not unusual for us to be hearing this, right? It's not unusual for us to be like, oh shit, like fuck, Smuja is unhappy with a certain situation, right? This is kind of the case. Yeah, there's lots going on. My food's here, all right. My food's here. That's the bed up there, all right. Just everybody. I know it's comedic value. Added some
I love that so much.
But all in all, let's get this straight with the whole Smuja situation.
Fucking
Should we have should we just chill? Should we ever just chill?
I love you, Chad.
Oh my god.
I bring the laughs first.
Holy shit.
Oh dear.
What are we talking about again? I mean, just about the Tabson thing, Tabson opping, I don't mind that. I feel like he's pretty sick with the op. He can take that on. I mean, obviously originally not an opper, but in the last like 2-3 months we saw him pick it up over Smuja more and more. So I guess they were also kind of testing the waters. If this happens, I mean, if you have a guy that's constantly saying like, I'm gonna quit CS, whatever, then you probably want to get a feel of different things and how you can just handle that if it happens. So from that perspective, it's fine. But just short term for the major seems like a big mess.
I mean, and God knows if wouldn't. I mean, based on Smuja's interview, like you said, God knows when Nex is actually going to be available, right? So this just, like I said, this just puts Big in such a bad situation, not only for the majors, just for their future, and just kind of they only just got in Xantares and trying to figure out how to play with him. They might have to change lineups again, and might not even be Nex, based on what we've heard, and that's just so much chaos within a couple of months in that team that it just puts brakes on them and their evolution, basically. I
mean, I did say that Big are going to have a roster change in like 6 months and that this roster wasn't going to work, but I didn't expect it to happen
before the major even happens.
Yeah. So. And E-League wasn't they didn't do well at E-League, but like they had some results where you'd go, okay, look, there's something to work with here.
They did okay, I guess, for a new lineup. It was not bad. Huh?
It was definitely competitive, right? Like,
exactly. They were not bad for sure. Yeah, they were definitely competitive. Yeah.
I think that it was interesting. Smuja did an interview, I believe it was with you guys, right? And he mentioned the fact that if I remember rightly, that maybe Godby would go to coaching. And I don't know if that was just for the major or if that was like permanently. But like, what are we talking? Like having the coaching staff 3 people deep is pretty nuts, right? So like, I don't think that is like a long-term thing regardless. If they obviously want to keep Zantares, right? Like getting that kid on the payroll is fantastic, and he's such a talent. And with Godby getting to in-game lead, like he's obviously staying. And if you're going to look to replace anybody else, and it's not going to be Godby if he wants to stay as an in-game leader, then it's either between Tizian and Smooya, right? Like it has to be either those two, because Tabson's the best German player we got. And if Nex is going to come back and he's able to be more consistent, then that's more of a firepower upgrade as well. I just think right now for them going into the major, like you guys are saying, it's obviously not ideal for them. But what do you have to win now with the new format? You have to, with where they are in the tournament, they have to win 2 best-of-1s and a best-of-3, right, to get through back to that top 8 position. So it's not impossible. And even if Smoo isn't going to be part of the team going forward, I don't see him having the constitution of just shutting down, right? I can see him actually being still a contributing factor. So it's shit timing. We don't know if it's confirmed. All in all, Counter-Strike and Germany.
Now, guys, I'm going to let you know about the top 3 for this week. Now, this one, this one is going to
let us know just right before.
No, I'm going to let. You said last week you wanted it a little bit earlier.
I mean, we can do either way, whatever.
Fuck you, Prof. You can't keep changing things.
Last second. I'm for last second.
We just have to make sure we do it in the correct order next time. That's all. I don't care. Whatever's easiest. Whatever we're doing. Someone make the call. Banks. I get it should be on to Banks. He's the leader. Yes. He's the driver.
Yeah, so I'm literally going to tell you now because fuck you, Prof. Idiot.
Still talking about last episode and me just dominating you in all areas.
What?
We're just
okay, someone go back and watch the VOD. Prof was 100% wrong on everything that he suggested. As per usual, best of 5s are better than best of 3s. So what we're doing for the top 3 this time, and this is where Prof, Sponge, and Striker have to give their top 3 on what I've kind of suggested, and then I choose someone who will be the winner based on their reasons and what they've actually described to us. So this, for me, is going to be the top 3 worst player moves that we've seen. As long as it's from CSGO, the worst ones and your reasons why. So you can think about that, and what we'll do is we'll do that after we've gone past the next segment, which is the GG Bet Professor versus Striker. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how you guys did off the back of yesterday, mainly, or last week even, sorry.
Yeah, it was last week, mostly.
Ooh, where's my... Do we have like a image of how we did? Because my slip from last week actually went through. Easy money.
Easy money.
Mine partially went through, yeah.
Yeah, because you're a bitch, so you didn't go for a combo bet. But yeah, I made
wow,
280 euros with just easy bets. Cyberzen, the Greyhound to beat Cyberzen, Energy to win the minor, MVP to get the initial win, and Renegades as well against the Israeli team. So that was a nice and easy one.
Yeah, I mean, mine was basically the winners of each minor, which was Energy and Renegades, which went through, obviously. But the last one
it wasn't that obvious. I mean, the Renegades one was pretty close in the end.
Yeah, it ended up being close. But I mean, we all expected them to be at least in the final.
Yes.
If not actually win it, right? They both Energy and Renegades, as we expected.
Striker managed to lose money, didn't you? Win
No, I lost the Cloud9 versus FaZe, their first matchup in the group stage. Yeah. So that's why I actually went down. I think I lost 50 on that, and I made like
that's rough.
Whatever, 47, like 37 on the others or something like that. I don't remember exact numbers, but that's
look
why
how happy Prof's face is on the webcam when he was looking at that. He's like, "Yeah."
Wait, no, I think this is the old one.
I think I should have.
No, he's like 758, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
We have an outdated thing.
Lucas, come on,
I should have 700, according to my own calculation. But yeah. What are we doing? What's the bet after the major, up to the major? We get the whoever does the chili challenge or whatever.
Including the major, yeah. I mean that was Martin's idea, right? We do like some sort of a chili challenge.
That's gonna be rough. Like
you're both from Eastern Europe.
My ass already hurts. Well, actually,
what do you say about
Eastern
Europe?
I won't lose. So
I said you're both from Eastern Europe.
What?
I mean that's debatable, but okay.
Well, my geography, you're east of me, right? Like I'm in Germany right now.
Yeah.
You guys are east of me, and you guys don't really like spicy food in the eastern part of Europe. So, I think that is fitting because it is actually something that you don't want to do. It's only temporary
that's a fair
pain.
Assumption, yeah.
Yeah. So
not even that. It'll probably last the whole day.
Maybe. Yeah. Look, I like that one. I feel that's
it's not bad.
as long as you guys are
like I definitely don't want to do it, so that makes it a good one.
Yeah, it really, like when I was doing the bets today, I was like, I don't want to do that shit. So
yeah, exactly.
Get, like,
but the problem is, like,
more effort in.
With this week as well, it's like you can't only bet on like super random online stuff, so that's the worst part about it.
Or local LAN.
Yeah, you
bet for that one.
Yeah.
Do we have the tickets coming in?
Yeah, I'm not sure who's first one, but I mean, you can start, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for mine. It's a bit delayed here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so I went for 2 LAN matches because the only LAN that was available was the ROG, the Finnish LAN.
Yep.
And Super Yimi and Havu are playing against some teams that don't even have lineups on HLTV, which is kind of retarded to bet against people I don't know even who is in the team. So could be some of the legendary Finnish names like Joel's or someone else. But I still went for them. It's decent odds, and it's like a pre-leg of the LAN. So after that, they're playing like Ents and alternate attacks. I think got an invite or something. So that's the two bets I put, and I put Team 1 to beat Win Scrims, not matches. That's how the team is called. That's like a Vireo Pro mix or something. Like kind of decent tier 2 US players, but still doesn't matter. Yeah. And then I went for Simon, Demon, whatever, against Nemiga, just because I watched Nemiga play online game yesterday or 2 days ago, and they're pretty bad. So yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say before Striker does his, we're really scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel here.
And you haven't seen mine then yet. Like, you haven't seen mine as well.
I mean, there are a couple of decent qualifier games, but it's all like a toss-up. So
I went so risky, man. Like, that's why this time I actually had a very good reason to go singles, because this is not something that I can do combo on. Just look at the odds, right?
Oh wow!
Like, look at the odds
of you. Money in, man.
Yeah, he spent.
About 160.
I put in 50 for 140.
Yeah, 160 total, I think.
Jeez.
And yeah, like you can see on the odds that I went pretty damn risky, so that's why I did singles.
Have you not been burnt enough by Virtus Pro in the last 2 years of your life?
That's the one I'm pretty yeah.
I'm scared for you.
What is
I'm scared about that one the most. Look, okay, let's start from the top, right? Okay. Singularity versus United. I mean, I think you're going to see the logic in that because, like, I just went for the upset there. First of all, it's online CS. It's an A. Like, we can all use the cliche, whatever. Like, anything can happen. Like, this makes double the case.
This because United literally I don't even know what should happen. Like, what should happen? Who should win that match?
Thing. Like, Singularities have actually been on the up, like, lately in NA. So that's kind of like one of the reasons. And obviously, United just lost FNS. They're playing it with Subroza, I think.
Subroza's qualifier. Sick.
I mean, he is good. It's just like they're just going to be in shambles. They have no real in-game leader. They're just going to be all over the place. I mean, it could work in NA. United are probably still pretty high favorites, but that's why I went for Singularity there. And that's why I only put in 30. Like, that's the lowest bet that I put in. Because that was the...
Wait, is that a best of 1 or a best of 3?
That's the best of 1.
All right, that's fair.
Actually, no, it is a best of 3. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe
you could do well.
Look,
it is a best of 3. I just rechecked again. Virtus Pro against Prosta. That one, I'm like, I literally just...
Yeah, that's a knife edge.
That's literally just a toss-up, and I just went for VP.
This Virtus Pro lineup literally played like 3 best of 1.
That's exactly the thing. Like, I feel like they should beat Prosta, but then again, it's VP. Like, they've been losing to all kinds of teams. Across the history of CS, basically, like for the past 3 years, they've always been shit, no matter what the lineup was. So I'm just like, that one I'm pretty scared about. But then I went for Spirit against Winstrike to win against Winstrike. I mean, that was in the
Derby. You're gonna lose that one easy.
I mean, history-wise, I feel like Spirit have had the upper hand every single time, and the odds have been pretty good. So that's why I went for Spirits. Also, that's why I went pretty high. With $50 on that one. That's in the We Play Lock and Load, I think. And then the last one, I went with the United Masters League, which is, I think, a best of 2. I went with Valiance to win both maps against 3D Max.
Is that
which I feel like is pretty...
really get played out, or because they play today?
No, it's tomorrow.
They play the qualifier for Sydney today, I think.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think every single match that I have is tomorrow. I think it's going to be played tomorrow. I think all of it.
Actually,
if the day's made or not.
First in the bottom, in the top corner of the bet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice. But yeah, that's true. That's
Prof
mine.
definitely played it safer than you, but
Well,
you've got
I mean,
some catching up to do.
No, it's just like, what can you actually bet on these matches?
Yeah, it was very hard to pick something,
leagues.
and I literally didn't want to go the route Prof went, just because like, what am I gonna gain here? Like, I'm already 300, almost 300 behind now. I'm just kind of like going a little bit more risky, but still with singles. So it's like,
I mean,
I
will literally not even bet the next time because you're just going to be losing money. Like two episodes in, it's going to be.
We'll see about that. We'll see.
Yeah. By the way, if you run out of money, it's by default my win.
Yes, that's how.
I mean, we've already said that, but I mean, I'm only betting like a third of my pot, so it's not that bad.
It seems like you didn't understand that part of that. So
no, I know. I mean, look, I'm still at almost 100%, right? I lost $13 off the last one, so I'm fine.
Prof's just flexing on his like superiority.
I'm the worst winner. I'm just annoying as fuck. So.
Oh, we know you are, Prof. That's the only reason you're still here.
Next time, so you don't have to listen to this.
Alright, well that's their bets. You can head over to GG Bet and place your bets if you want, but remember you should be over 18 and don't spend money you can't, and also don't tweet people abuse when you fuck it up and they don't win, because that never gets you anywhere either. You just look like a cunt.
What was the hashtag that came out of North?
Hashtag stop toxicity.
Stop toxicity.
Did you see Slash's like tweets with that? That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I didn't understand that.
Oh my god, it was so
he'd lost the plot.
I feel like he's just on he's just on something. I thought based on that tweet. I was like, what are you smoking, man?
Yeah, where have we gone with this?
Yeah.
Just make sure everybody heads over to begamblingaWare.org. So just read up on the shit there, because don't waste your money on fucking betting when you can buy shit like sushi that I'm devouring right now.
Don't make me hungry, Chad. You've had your food delivery. You've got your own waitress there as well.
I mean, he deserves it based on what we've heard about his day. I feel like he deserves some good food. I hate sushi, but I mean, whatever.
How can you hate sushi?
Jesus, it's awful.
I'm not a big fan either.
It's awful.
So.
Maybe we should make the loser of the challenge eat sushi.
Yeah, this sounds like a good plan.
It's not that bad. Like chilies are worse. Like I can take it. It's fine.
I think from the green room, sushi is the most requested food, right?
Yeah,
Chad?
I think so.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah, it's just like our go-to.
James, before we get to the next topic, I'm sorry to steal the driver's seat right now. I've asked Lucas I've sent him some screenshots here. Okay. This is some breaking Counter-Strike news, and I think all the viewers are probably going to love it.
Uh-oh.
Lucas, can you bring up the first one? All right, so we have the game going on right now between Furia and Heroic. Now, I want you all to notice number 4 there. Furia picked Overpass. Lucas, can you bring up the second screenshot for everybody at home, buddy?
Okay.
Gonna be a 60.
I know where this is going, but okay.
Oh dear! You hate to see it.
Ooh,
you don't love
that's rough.
You don't love to see it.
They're coming back though. It's 15-2.
Yeah, they're
coming back 15-2. Yes. Oh my god.
But I'm setting this up because I figure we're going to talk about them soon anyway. So I just thought this was I really love the way these guys play CS. So no disrespect. I just thought it was a.
I mean, they fucking made it. Like I'm not sure anybody of us really had them as like one of the top.
No, we didn't talk about them. We went into a little bit of info on them, but not into do this well.
Prof, I remember was kind of bigging them up a little bit, but I don't think anybody of us actually thought they were going to make it through.
Everything I said in the last 2 episodes was correct. Including the best of 3s being superior to the best of 5s.
Okay, I'm literally going to replace you, mentally ill person. What is going on, Prof?
You don't have any objective reasoning for that. So
I mean, you can't prove me wrong either. So
we can. I mean, anyone go back and watch the VODs? Most things Prof says is
there was a
just says it with confidence.
By Martin, our boss, and
oh my god, a Twitch poll of 200 of your fans. I would say fans, but more your haters because they just follow you.
I apologize for derailing this. I feel like I've caused.
You fully derailed.
I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up.
All right, let's go on to the minor conclusion. Let's do this. So, minor conclusion: Americas and Asia. Me and Chad were there. We got to see it all kind of unfold. Americas semi went as expected with the NRG side of things. Asia ended up being super entertaining as always, and actually kind of was super up in the air in terms of, yes, we get to see Renegades through as expected, but Greyhound gave him a good chance, gave him some good fighting in it. And then obviously we'll get onto it a little bit later towards the end of this part of it, where we'll talk about the whole situation with the first ever playoffs and how that worked out, and Europe and America not reigning supreme. But let's start with the Americas, because I think that's the interesting one, right? We had so many Brazilian teams here. Envy and E United were two teams we spoke about that could potentially do well. Envy fell short. They looked flat on a lot of maps. Obviously, they had a little bit of time to work with Carrigan in there. And E United, they just shit the bed across the board.
Man, Envy, I actually put as one of those teams that would go out in groups for sure. They actually surprised me. Carrigan or not, I thought they were not going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, JDM played like a lot beyond my expectations. So that was the main thing that kind of carried them through with almost qualifying for the major, I feel like. Other than that, I think the United is the main talking point. Like, they are the team that had some good results, got in FNS, and then just absolutely shit the bed over there. And I think the biggest reason is, like, Moose was their main player, and he has been playing, like, insanely well for that kind of a caliber of a team, and he didn't do anything at the minor, literally nothing.
Yeah.
So that's, I feel like, why it went so wrong. But other than that, yeah, Envy, yeah, a bit of a surprise for me as well.
I mean, personally, like, especially now that what we've heard from the United Chem, which would kind of, I guess, fall under the breaking news, is that FNS actually left them at this point. So that's, I mean, it's just based on his kind of announcement or whatever it was, like, it looked like there have been problems in that team. And just based on, like, the roster changes that we've heard about over the past, I don't know, 3 months since FNS came in, basically. Like, they've gone through some, like, 4 lineup changes with Dazzle being out, in and out, Relix kind of making it out, and all that kind of stuff. So it just feels like...
they're signed, but not knowing for who. That was also a fun one.
What?
When Cooper is signed,
they didn't know
announce
who they were going to replace.
Was replacing. And then they played the LAN with the whole lineup, and everyone's like, okay, we'll see who gets cut, and then, okay, Relix, you're out. Actually, it was Dazzle, and then Dazzle back, and then Relix.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? So you can just tell that there have been, like, stability issues in that team, and just, like, God forget whatever happened to the coach, right? So that's another thing that
that's also that team. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the same team. There was a French in
classic unsolicited dick pic.
He loves it. He loves
Talking about that, we can bring up Dick Stacy's signature league.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
It all falls in line. It all works out.
Just to bring down the
I'm trying positive vibes as opposed to negative ones, because it's clear that, like, United shat the bed in that North American one. I think it's fantastic that NRG had such a good mindset. I think that's one of the things which I took away from the interviews they were doing and the way that they approached it all. They did what all the other favorites from all the other regions were unable to do, right? We had Avantgarde as the favorite, we had Renegades as the favorite, and we had Mousesports as the favorite in each respective minor. And all 3 of those teams showed weakness or completely shat the bed, right? So props to NRG for actually coming through and living up to the high expectations that are set on them. E United, yeah, you guys have just covered it all. That was a dog shit performance. I think that Envy is surprised based on the amount of time they had to practice and the fact that it's a lot of older players who have been out of the upper echelons of Counter-Strike for some time. Now, I'm not saying the minors are the upper echelons of Counter-Strike, but the fact of the matter is there were moments where, like, Cutler had several good games back-to-back. JDM was rolling back the years and hitting some fantastic shots. Carrigan, I think... For his sake and his career, because we did touch on this last time, I spoke about it and I said that I thought that he would be trying to raise his stock. I think, unfortunately, he went for the option of, I'm going to try and elevate everybody else in the team and see if we can get this W, as opposed to worrying about himself, because his stats are pretty abysmal, unfortunately. And I think that if he had focused on himself as a player more, as opposed to having to micromanage so much, you heard him in a lot of the interviews saying I had to do a lot of micromanagement, you would have got more out of him. I think to tar him with the brush and to say that he's not a good in-game leader, he's not a good player to contribute, is unfair. I think that if you gave him a team which was already had enough structure that he could come in and just call, didn't have to teach everybody everything, he would have had a higher output. Now, that's hearsay. Obviously, we only have to go... that's speculation. That's not hearsay. But the fact of the matter is, I think you would have got more out of him in that case. Obviously, we don't know, and we'll see what goes forward if he stays with this team, which I think he may as well until after the major. There's no point in him doing anything else. Just stay with them, play in whatever qualifiers they play. Milk that checkbook. But Furia, for me, They impressed on so many levels. The fact that these guys are such a cohesive unit as a team, they're all on the same page. I didn't even feel that there was a weak link within the team in a lot of games. I haven't looked at the stats extensively to see if anybody was letting down in any key areas, but their approach was everybody was on the same page. They had some very innovative strategies. I think the coach did a fantastic job from a position of being a general for the team, pacing back and forth before the game started. They were meditating. They were all legitimately sitting there with their eyes closed, not looking, not touching their keyboards, not doing anything, while the coach was either firing them up, giving the rundown. I don't know what the fuck he was saying because I don't speak Portuguese, but I loved it. I loved what I was seeing, and it was great because it was a fresh look on Counter-Strike, and I wasn't expecting that the minors. Sure, with the Asian teams, I expect a shit show, but with the teams from this region, obviously we know there's explosive players. We know that Queserado was on the lookout to potentially join MIBR. These guys as a unit impress me, and that's what the most impressive thing to me is. I don't really look for individuals. If you're simple, then you're a fucking god. But the way that these guys approach the team, art's calling, everything, I could go on about this for days, but I recommend that people go back and watch some of the Furia games. I put up a highlight of one of the pistol rounds that they did. We were doing it in post-game segments. Just their approach to the game. It was not current meta, but it wasn't so far outside the box that it doesn't work. And I got first-hand of some of the teams who played them being like, man, like this was a really weird peak, or they had the bomb site for so long, why didn't they plant? And it was frustrating to a lot of these guys who are playing at the current level, and I think that's really cool. That got me super excited.
Do we think that the decision to keep Queserado was a good one in the end?
Definitely.
Well, the fact of the matter is the owner of this team has to have money, right? So if you're MIBR and you come to this guy, the guy's friends with fucking Neymar. If you're friends with Neymar, you must have some fucking capital in the back pocket, right? Let's not beat around the bush in that regard. So if MIBR come to you and say, hey, we'll give you, I don't know, Queserado, how much could his buyout possibly be worth? Right?
No. So I heard this, Chad. I spoke to him before I did an interview with the players, and actually what they said was it wasn't so much that it was because of his buyout. It was more that they couldn't come to an agreement that they thought was fair of what MIBR was offering him. Now, it doesn't sound like MIBR to be like, we're not going to offer enough for it, but maybe they were just trying to super lowball them in some way.
Well, you would try to, right? Because the fact of the matter is they just fucking blew the budget probably for 2 years on Stewie and Tarek, which was a terrible thing within itself, and unfortunately that kind of fell flat. But in here they were probably trying to get their most bang for buck, or an alternative theory, which I thought of, it may not even be true, is they said they were looking at this kid when the whole time they were going for Phelps or they were going for somebody else, just so when they were talking to, say, INTZ, for example, INTZ didn't think they were the only people, so they didn't just elevate their buyout to something ridiculous. So there's all those theories, but I think that it's a good decision for the org, and money obviously isn't a problem, right? Like money can't be an issue with the certain bits and pieces that I put in place, and the fact that they did it as a team, and the emotion and the elation and all that kind of stuff. That would have meant so much more to Queserado than if he joined MIBR and was straight in the majors. So that as a life changing or something that you'll remember until your grandkids. I'm obviously talking about things that are not tangible, but that would mean a lot. So I think from a team and org point of view, they made the right decision.
I think even from a personal point of view, from Queserado, it's gonna be like much less of a jump, right? You were kind of touching on it already, but it's much better for especially for somebody young who hasn't really been proven on an international scene. It's much better to get somewhere first, get on some type of international level, which we haven't really seen Furia on before, or not this type of level, like not a major level, right? Where they are now, rather than just making it on a top 5 team off the bat, like straight from, let's say, a top 50 team or whatever Furia is, probably closer to top 30 now. But I think even for Queserado, this is a much better course of action. Maybe now he's going to get his first major experience, and maybe like later on this year he could make it to a better team, unless this Furia team actually starts proving something on the international scene. So I like that as well from that point of view.
Yeah. And there's the fun clip of them actually beating INTZ, I think, when they were like yelling and stuff. And of course, someone said that was disrespectful and stuff like that. But I think it shows just everything they went through as a team to get to that point and kind of get that win. It meant so much to them. And there's of course a lot of like national banter, rivalry, and stuff like that. Always good to see stuff like that from my point of view.
People who are coming out and saying like that's disrespectful and stuff are the fucking snowflakes who are the kids who want to get awards for just fucking participating and playing a soccer match, mate. What is with this bullshit? Anyway, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop myself. Those people need to go take a good, hard fucking look at themselves in the mirror, because if that's the direction society's going, we are all fucked.
Well, don't worry, I'm just going through the whole thing with my son at school of like, everyone's a winner, but he didn't win. So it means he needs to try harder next time. That's fucking stupid. So I can agree with that, Chad. The world's gone messed up, mate. It's changed a lot since our days when we were all kids. Now, one thing I did want to look at was FNS and the whole thing. Obviously, he leaves United straight after. Is he just clearly not as good as an in-game leader as they kind of outed him to be, or is he just not getting the right opportunities, or what do you guys think's going wrong with this? Because he's always this guy that's like, people go, oh yeah, well, he's going to be the next great in-game leader for North America, and it's not happening.
I mean, those talks have been around for like 5 years now, so it's not like, obviously he hasn't really, especially after his failure in Cloud9, where he stayed for like, I mean, to be fair, like we don't really know what happened in the background. We have actually no idea, so it's kind of hard to tell what actually happened between the team and him, and like whatever they didn't agree with. But it did feel like they didn't give him enough of a chance, like 2 tournaments or whatever it was. That just seems like totally unreasonable. But then again, if it was just a style thing,
he stepped down himself from United.
Right? From United, yeah. Oh, I thought
were you talking about United or Cloud9?
No, I was talking about Cloud9. Just going back to that situation where there was just obviously like some sort of a playstyle clash where they didn't agree with the type of in-game leader he was, I guess, or like the style that he had, and that didn't fit the players, I guess. So that's, I don't know. It's hard to say from an outsider's point of view, especially with in-game leaders, right? Because you don't really know what decisions are taken by the leader, how much backlash there is from the players when they don't agree with whatever he's saying or whatever he's calling. So like if you have players that don't really agree with your playstyle from the get-go, like you're not going to get anywhere. That's the problem, I feel like. So I guess he just needs to actually find somebody who knows how I mean, that was actually something that he mentioned himself in the announcement, that he just wants to go to a team that he already knows and that already knows him, like two players that know him and know his style. So I feel like that's where the main issue comes from. It's just like he's finding teams that don't end up agreeing with the type of in-game leader he is.
Isn't that just like an pre-announcement that he is joining Envy with JDM and Cutler?
Imagine bring the boys back together.
Could be just
interesting.
Like CLG basically, like the same core.
Tarek is also kind of free.
Tarek is kind of available, yeah.
Kind of available, probably very expensive.
Let's go.
Hayes is also available. He's streaming. So
this is a slight tangent from this whole FNS point. I think that like right now there's a lot of players in the North American region who have always been on the precipice or the cusp of potentially, making it. And right now, Liquid have proved that it's possible. Cloud9 obviously winning the major last year. NRG are doing it on a consistent basis. The current Cloud9 has surprised me. Obviously, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But if that didn't exist as a project, and I had to look at parts that were in different teams right now from North America, and I had to make another good team, right? We've got Liquid, we've got NRG, and let's say we just keep it as the Cloud9 organization, and you can make a third decent team within North America, right? Obviously, Ghost as well plays some pretty decent CS, but this is what I'm getting at. You've got your boy Tim, you've got Rush, you're getting fucking Wardell, because he is pretty legit as an AWPer,
he's
right?
Sick.
You got Tarek back on board, so you got 3 of the old Cloud9 boys back together, and then you could throw any player that you want. Zelsus just did a fantastic job of being a key component in Cloud9. He was just stable, he just did his job, right? I think there's so many people that you could whack in, and you could have like a full 5 North American team again, and it'd be fucking legit, but I digress, and I apologize. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Chad, the derailer of the show.com. Thank you, Chad. It was kind of relevant to it. I mean,
we can continue on the whole Cloud9 thing, but maybe there's the North Vici. I mean, we can talk about North later.
There's a lot of
Danish struggles.
I mean, we're only at the Americas minor, right?
Yeah, we got to go to Asia first, boys. We still got to deal with that little.
Yeah, that's true.
That little bit of craziness. So let's go into that next, right? For me, in Asia, I was quite impressed by what we're starting to see from MVP. They still fall short on actually having kind of the firepower they need in my eyes. I'd like to see some of the Gosu players mixed in with some of the MVP guys. Maybe some people who have been playing for so long now might need to retire at this point, because I think I only saw a couple of good games from Solo during that. Ichi, they managed to battle back in the crazy way these Chinese teams do, but I think, Chad, you probably agree with this as well. It's just Greyhound impressed me beyond belief, because they never gave up. They really gave Renegades a tough time in all the matches.
I think that the resilience that they showed in that series against Renegades was very impressive to me. I think Dexter, as an in-game leader, has learned a lot and matured in that role very quickly. I know it's been some time, but considering the power vacuum that was left when Renegades left Australia, there was a bit of catch up to do there. And I think Sterling, he had his moments. I don't think that he played a good tournament throughout, but I think he had his moments. And then Urquhart had a really slow start, but after that he was sweet from then on in. And Malta and Dick Stacey, they're kind of just more role players, right? So I never expect them to drop a lot. But the fact that they push Renegades, one or two things here. I know the Renegades mindset, and I don't mean them personally. I mean like the fact that I've been in that position before when you go into a minor and you're the clear favorite, and if I'm like, yeah, fuck, we're gonna win this, and then every single person next to me down the row is thinking the same thing, and everybody's like only contributing 80%. It might be a subconscious contribution, it might not be intentionally, but you're not 100% glued in. Like if I think, oh yeah, JKS over there, he's gonna, if I only get one, he'll fucking mop up the rest. If everybody has that same mindset, can be very problematic, and then you see closer games. You could see the relief when they did finally win. It wasn't elation. It was just, yeah, okay, well, we did what we had to do, and if we didn't do this, then fuck, we're in trouble. But yeah, Greyhound, props to them. Vici impressed me. They matured a lot throughout the tournament in terms of their style of play. Advent, when he did his interview at the end of things with Jason Kaplan, was translated, but all in all, I think that he made some very honest points, and I agree with the sense that he was saying he learned a lot and he adapted a lot as an in-game leader. So those three are the stands. I think that MVP and Gosu, like, you get Zion back and put him back up to the MVP squad. You start bolstering the talent up there. But all in all, that was probably the team with the highest disparity between the shit teams and the best teams. But look, it's par for the course, right? I don't know if we're going to see any damage coming out of the likes of Vici or Greyhound in the main tournament.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about Sterling, just to expand on it a bit.
Oh, yeah.
He did he was impressive, as you said, in some matches at some points. I feel like his CT side doping was pretty good. Then on T side, there's some holes in his game style that he needs to develop a bit. But I think on CT side, he played pretty smart. He did the textbook style, gets one pick, falls back, gets a new angle, then uses a bit of utility, waits for people to come in, gets another frag. He had a couple of very, very good maps. And up to that, Dexter, Urcast, all of them showed something. But obviously this is a lower level than the major qualifier that they're going to be going into. Other than that, all expected. MVP in the end fell short, and then Vici happened, which you recapped it all. They looked pretty bad at the beginning, and then just in the end when they beat North, it felt legit as it could be. It felt mega legit.
Vici happened is a very true thing. I guess we can take us nicely on to the playoff stages, right? Now, that was an interesting state of affair with everyone kind of going, oh, yeah, well, North should make it through, no problems at all. And obviously we'll go into a bit more detail on North a little bit later, but they certainly dropped the ball in a big way. And
talk about, especially after all these weeks that we've heard, the talk about how the minor system is fucked and how different slots should be allocated. We've talked about it here a couple of times in the past couple of episodes. So it's just after all that talk, for Vici to beat North, Vici of all teams, the Asian team, I would have expected maybe the CIS teams, we've heard or we've seen those teams just kind of surprise Europeans a lot over the past even a couple of years, the Vega Squadron, whatever, talk about them, right? So those kind of teams that I thought they could, definitely not one of the Asian, especially not the third place Asian team. There was nobody that I thought could beat a third place European team, no matter what the matchup would be. I thought there was no way. So for that to happen, I think that's really, really, really cool.
Just quickly, with just everybody's opinion here now. Let me just quickly think before I speak. There's certain things obviously I can't say. Okay, so all in all, with the introduction of the minor, the play-in, And the consideration of the fact that these teams all had to go through and come third place in their respective minors. And they already played through a shitload of games of Counter-Strike to come third, right? Like that's the fact of the matter is they already played a full tournament to come third and then go into a last chance qualifier. Like, we can call it whatever the fuck we want, but realistically it's a last chance qualifier where you have the 11th team at the time. North were the 11th best team in the world, right? Yeah. Versus teams who are not even anywhere fucking close. Like, if we're talking about North being on Earth, these other teams were in a different fucking galaxy. This is what we're talking about here in contrast. Now, you can sit here and you can tell me the fucking bullshit, all that nonsense you want about best of ones. But when we're talking about a team who has a choice between Train and Inferno versus a Chinese team who, okay, sure, potentially they look like their Train was better statistically speaking. You're going to take the pick on fucking Inferno when you know that you have the skill to just style all over these kids, in theory, and on paper, and basically on everything we know. You're going to lose a best of one, then you're going to be given a safety net of 2 best of 3s against teams who aren't even in your class, and you're still not going to qualify. If people are questioning the fucking format of that, they need to go and get their fucking head checked, because there are only so many opportunities that we can give. How fucking far down the qualification process do we have to go? Do you want to have the minor qualifiers on LAN? Do you want to do all of that fucking best of 3? Should we just run it as an entire year and the best teams in the world only play for 1 month? Like, what kind of fucking absurdity are we talking about when we're saying that because it's a best of 1 in the opening game, or that you can win 2 best of 1s and go through? You've already played a full fucking tournament to get to this point. When I read that shit, my mind was blown. My mind was absolutely blown, because this structure right here, Valve have gone, oh, all these people are complaining that Europe is such a stronger fucking minor than everybody else, so let's give them what they want. Valve did that. Valve gave you that, and you still shut the fucking bed. So shut the fuck up.
This is why it's perfect, Chad. This is why it's so damn good, right? Because we get the proof in concept that a team like North, who, like you said, top 11 in the world, right? 100% leagues above the other teams they should be facing. No way you should lose. And they just can't get it done.
Just to butt in quickly, just after quick checks, all the other 3 teams that are right now, after the minors, are ranked between 35 and 40. So just to put that into perspective,
here's one more.
Strike Envy and Vici are all like 35 to 40.
Even mitigated pistol rounds to a point where they don't have as much play on the game. In that match, in that best of 1 in the opening game between Vici and North, Vici had to win on both pistols. You can be like, oh, they won both pistols. Yeah, they did, but the cunt had to win a 1v2 both times to win both of those pistols. They didn't even do it in the easy fashion. They didn't just run over them and slam them. Whichever player it was on both respective pistol rounds had to win a 1v2. That has absolutely nothing to do with the format. That has absolutely nothing to do with the fucking format. It just infuriates me.
Just one thing though, and that doesn't really, it's not a criticism towards what you're saying or like a different opinion, just to add on, is that I think the only problem with how the minor was played, or the play-in was played, was the fact that it was all played in one day, right? Like, some of these teams had to play a lot of matches in a row. A lot of maps in a row. I mean, but this is not an excuse for North, because they fucked up the first time. The first match they lost to Vici. So this doesn't even count towards North. I'm just saying, as a general criticism towards like the minor play, to play it in one day, especially like with how teams are now used to kind of playing at most 1 best of 3 a day, I feel like that's like a place for improvement for next time, to at least like put it in 2 days, so that the teams that go through the lower bracket don't have to play so much in a row. Because they had to, as far as I remember, they had to play like 2 best of 3 literally in a row. North, right?
Sure. Like, if we just look at this sample size of this, though, they had a potential 4 maps that Vici and North could have played against each other, right? They had the best of 1, and then they had the best of 3. Now, North lost 16 to 12 on their map choice of Dust 2 that Vici historically had played, once? And that was literally in the minor itself. I'm pretty sure that they played it versus Greyhound, right? So that is North's pick. North have had the choice. Vici have removed Nuke. Vici have got rid of Nuke. That's fine. You know, lots of teams are removing Nuke against North. North have picked Dust 2, right? I highlighted a clip, right? The nerves. Now, look, I'm not being super harsh to North here by any means, because I think that the nerves and the pressure that they put themselves under here played a massive factor in their loss. I genuinely believe that, and I think that this team does pound for pound, player for player, have a lot of skill and etc. Like I'm not ragging on them at all. I think that it sucks the position they found themselves in, and I'm not ragging. But what I'm saying here is, we highlighted a clip live on broadcast of a strategy they do. It's a four-man B play. They do an Xbox smoke. Cadian takes mid control. Once he has cat control, if he gets it for free, he does a jump smoke, which is meant to land and cover the B double doors. We highlighted this. He missed the smoke, which created a gap. Now, sure, if it's a difficult smoke and he missed it, and that's all good. But the gap was created. Kaze, they get the entry on B. Right now, you have yourself a clean 4v5 situation. Great. They're walking into the B bomb site. They expect doors to be smoked. First guy goes platform to cross and get into the bomb site, gets orbed. Okay, at that point, you're thinking to yourself, if I'm the second guy, I'm thinking to myself, fuck, there must be a gap in the smoke. Second guy literally just runs out like a fucking potato, gets orbed again. Kaze just staying in that smoke, gets another kill. Cadian drops cat behind for the flank, whiffs 20 bullets on a guy, not even looking at him. Now, I've made some fucking terrible plays in my professional career, so I'm not in any position to be saying any bullshit. I'm just saying that these guys, with those kind of mistakes, must have been feeling the pressure like so badly. Like those aren't mistakes that players the caliber of North make. And I don't know how you diagnose this. I don't know if it's pressure they put on themselves. I don't even know how you decompile this whole situation. But Vici didn't crumble because they came and they played CS. You know, that last game was super exciting, and that's a legit win in my books. North, obviously, under a lot of different factors, but all in all, I think that event as a whole was fantastic. You could see what it meant to win Strike, to win the game. Envy did their best to put up a fight, all things considered. Like, it was bringing all of the regions together. Everybody from different sides of the globe don't play against each other on a regular basis at all. And you could see the preparation and the clarity of some of these players. Sure, Waylander had the game. He has one of these games every year, but he had that game, you know, and they did what they needed to do.
Every year.
And I loved it. I loved that.
Wait, he doesn't play much more than that.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
It was
it
definitely
really has
interesting.
a special vibe to it, as you said, like the international part, a bit of a best of ones always thrown in there to make things exciting. Love a bit of that. Double elimination bracket, not a single elimination, so also legit. Yeah, I just went to check out Vici's Dust 2. They played North Greyhound at the minor and the minor plane, and they played MVP and Gosu in 2018 in like September and October, and that's all they have. So, Dust 2 is before the minor.
Just one thing to add on, fucking Freeman, man. Like, we've already mentioned it a little bit before,
yes.
But that game against North, the one that actually got them the spot at the major,
Yep.
God damn, he was very good. He was good throughout the whole minor, even the plane, he was okay, but like that game was really impressive.
I think who else impressed me from that minor. I think, like, obviously he was a standout, right? Kaze, we've already seen him play several times, and he's had decent performances. I think all in all, like, players who have to feel hard done by, like somebody like Valde, man. I know we're going to get to Danish Counter-Strike in a second, but he's putting in hauls, and he's not only just, you know, coming in late with the communication and damage already done, like, he's entering onto bomb sites. Did
you see what, like, that Mirage game? Was it a Mirage game where he had like
40 kills in regulation?
40 kills and he still almost lost, or even lost?
I think they lost.
They lost in the end, I think, right?
It was insane. But that guy, man, like, him as a player and him as a person to talk to, and his work ethic as an individual, like, he's a class of a human. Like, he's somebody who's super switched on. He knows what he's doing, and then that shows in the server. Obviously, I'm a really switched on individual. Just look at me, but it doesn't show on the server. So obviously, he has that natural talent right there, and I feel for that guy in all of this. They
didn't lose it, but he had to go 40-13
It's
on
crazy,
the last to win against Vitality 16-12. I mean, that's something about the team, right?
Yep.
Not ideal. We'll get onto the Danish Counter-Strike bit very soon. Should we now go on to Ely? Because we spoke about it last week and thought, okay, it's going to be an okay event, but we don't expect too much from it.
We barely even mentioned it. Like, we were just talking.
We just kind of skipped over it, right? So it actually ended up being a pretty legit event. We got to see some interesting games come out of there. And Chad, we spoke about this in person at the time during the minors. We both said, Cloud9, when that roster came about, what the fuck? This isn't going to work. Actually, had some pretty damn good results there. Managed to get to the grand final as well.
And all without their in-game leader, which is hugely impressive.
Yeah, without Golden.
Yeah, I made a tweet after the tournament, something along the lines of, you know, I was really surprised. I forget my exact wordage, but basically it exceeded my expectations in terms of what to expect from that event. I thought that Big would still be having to put pieces of the puzzle together, with Zantara is obviously not speaking the same language or not speaking English as much as what the others have been doing recently. Cloud9, the whole Zelsys thing, they didn't seem super convincing at the iBuyPower tournament. It's not that they seemed bad, but I just thought with the likes of the other teams there that they wouldn't have been able to go as far. Complexity, whatever. I don't think we can say too much about that team. I don't think there's even any point. That's yeah. And then last of all, you're getting with FaZe, and FaZe obviously warmed into the tournament. And I think that with you can see the style that Yanko's bringing, which I think is great. He's bringing more executes to this team because we know their mid rounds are really good. We know that their individual plays, the fact that they can all clutch, it's all there. I think that's what Yanko tried to do with MIBR. You could see that MIBR became a lot more execute heavy. But I think for FaZe, it's more needed than it would have been for MIBR, if that makes sense. I think the contrast of those two is a little bit different. But all in all, very surprised at the competitive nature of the tournament. Obviously, E-League always do a fantastic job. You know, they run it to the best of the ability right there. And yeah, the game's definitely delivered. So for me, there's not huge takeaways going in for the major because it's a small sample size of teams, but it is a positive trend to see FaZe now. And I think that they've realized, Olaf definitely did within that tournament, that, hey, let's pick up this fucking org because it is the bee's knees at the moment.
I can't believe that Nico is actually sticking to that. This is a noob weapon. I'm not going to be using it in a competitive
that is not
video.
He's got to wake up.
That's like auto sniper, auto noob like type level shit from 1.6, right? When people were playing like auto snipers in 1.6, people were just like flaming them so much. Even at the start of CS:GO, this was the same thing. When GetRight was using the auto sniper a lot, people were just like bashing him for it. But like this is a mentality that people have to get over. Like, this is a weapon in the game. It is usable. It
works.
It is allowed to be used, right? So like, why would you not? It obviously works. Like, we've seen the trends just go so up, especially like after the break. Like, even before the break, we could see that the AUG was going to be pretty high up there at some point. But I didn't expect it to be to go up so quickly, to overtake the M4 at the first events of 2019.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the stubborn Balkan guy. It sounds like a meme, but he's really just sticking to it. It's like, no, I'm not going to be using this.
That's just a really shitty mentality, though. Like,
I get
your advantages whatever you can, right?
Yeah, but just because it is a game, it is a video game, and it's just one gun in a game. Like, why you have to be so mad? It's only a game, more or less. I mean, just play it until it gets nerfed. I mean, otherwise, if he just doesn't play the gun and still wrecks everyone, then props to him. He kind of proved that he is a very insane player, but at the same time, he's putting a lot on the line by just not using it because he thinks it's a noob weapon.
I mean, we still haven't really had any obvious, I guess, proof that the AUG is a better weapon. I guess we could see certain players use auto noob type level shit from 1.6, right? When people were playing auto snipers in 1.6, people were just flaming them so much. Even at the start of CS:GO, this was the same thing. When GetRight was using the auto sniper a lot, people were just bashing him for it. But this is a mentality that people have to get over. Like, this is a weapon in the game. It is usable. It
works.
It is allowed to be used, right? So why would you not? It obviously works. We've seen the trends just go so up, especially after the break. Even before the break, we could see that the AUG was going to be pretty high up there at some point. But I didn't expect it to be to go up so quickly, to overtake the M4 at the first events of 2019.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the stubborn Balkan guy. It sounds like a meme, but he's really just sticking to it. It's like, no, I'm not going to be using this.
I think that's just a really shitty mentality, though. Like, if
I mean,
I get your advantages whatever you can, right?
Yeah, but just because it is a game, it is a video game, and it's just one gun in a game. Like, why you have to be so mad? It's only a game, more or less. I mean, just play it until it gets nerfed. I mean, otherwise, if he just doesn't play the gun and still wrecks everyone, then props to him. He kind of proved that he is a very insane player, but at the same time, he's putting a lot on the line by just not using it because he thinks it's a noob weapon.
I mean, we still haven't really had any obvious, I guess, proof that the AUG is a better weapon. I guess we could see certain players using it a little bit differently and stuff like that. We can discuss it all you want, but I don't think anybody has really proven that the AUG is so much better.
The way to deal with this, if we want, I think from using it a limited amount and from seeing it being used and the tweets coming out from the players, that a lot of people think that, at least the early signs is the AUG is better than the M4. We've obviously had the discussion earlier about the AUG and what potential changes they would do afterwards. But here's the situation. If you want Valve to change the price or nerf the AUG in either an economy-based way or in a stats-based way, the best way to do that is to use the weapon. Because what it'll do is, once the disparity drops off and the M4 is now no longer being used and the AUG is the only weapon being used, Valve don't want that. Valve want the weapon to be used. So this here, now, on my podcast, we actually had a really lengthy discussion about this, and I think we spoke about it for almost 45 minutes. So we probably shouldn't do the same here. But Stunner told me a story when he was the manager of Cloud9, and the wireless mouse, like this one here, it's coming out from Logitech, not product placement, just legit the mouse I use. That he, to test the mouse, what they did was, for the Cloud9 players, was they had it plugged in, right? They had the mouse plugged in at the mouse, but at the computer, they didn't plug it in. So they had the players use the mouse. They had them use the mouse, and then after they were asked how they felt about it, right? Now, maybe there was a little bit of them because it was a sponsor of theirs, they wanted to appease it. Who knows? I don't know the quality of information, but what Trace was telling me was that the fact of the matter was that they were impressed. They were impressed with the mouse, that they thought, good response time, it feels good, all this, that, and the other, it's a good mouse. And then, oh, wow, look, boys, it's a wireless. So then from there, obviously, we've seen a lot of players using that. Now, the AUG, is similarities to the way that this in the Krieg or the SG that the newer players would understand it as. This is Valve going, these guns are in the game. We need, or we would like, for these players to use it. But if we buff the gun, they're probably unlikely to use it because they know that the AK and the M4 work for what they want. But if we bring the gun to a price point very similar to the two weapons that they have right now, and then they can see how valuable this weapon is in certain circumstances. Do I think it's valuable all the time? No. Do I think it's valuable in holding lines when you have less utility? Yes. Do I think it's valuable on maps like Train where you have longer range duels? Yes. I think that it has a lot of different applications. But do I think it should be at the current price point? No. What they've done is they've thrown this at you. They've said, hey, use this. It works. It's fantastic. You can find ways because you are the ones who set the way the game is played. The players design the way the game is played. They're the ones that come up with the strategies and the meta and this and that and what. They've just giving you. They're forcing it on the players, right? They're saying, this is good, use it. And now that they're using it, after the major's over, they're not going to change it now. They're not crazy. They're going to change it after the major, and they'll probably return that price point similar to what it was before, or maybe they'll adjust this or adjust that. But the fact of the matter is, it's showing the players another dimension. Is that a bad thing? No, and I'm a Counter-Strike purist. I'm the kind of guy who's like, why the fuck do we have 7 different pistols that we can use? Back in my day, we had the Deagle, we had the Glock, and we had the USP. But the way that Counter-Strike is trending, this isn't a bad thing. And also the AUG makes it easier for old people like me to play the game. So, all in all, it's cool.
It's cool. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. I mean, it just shows
I'm a fan of
how much the players actually don't care. I mean, don't really even try to experiment outside of the meta because this gun has been the same since 2014, I think. So, yeah that's a large number of years that no one touched it, and now suddenly it is overpowered and people want it nerfed, like nerfed damage-wise or fire rate-wise. I feel like that's absolutely ridiculous because if it was that overpowered, someone would figure it out and it would be used in the past 5 years. Or all of the, I don't know, pro players simply would not realize that, but I don't think that's the case. But I guess
we had the same thing. We kind of had the same thing with the UMP, though. I feel like that basically before it started being really, really meta, it's like people barely used it, and it's been the same for like it had been the same for like 3 years before that, before it actually became meta, and then it got nerfed. So I feel like this could potentially turn into the same thing. So I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I mean we've seen that before, and it just takes people the initial kick, right? The initiation from whatever, like either people actually starting to use it or Valve just like making the weapon more available, as we've seen with the Yogg and the Krieg.
Now back to E-League, I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to say you Chad touched on it, and a lot of people have been saying that Zellsis is like very impressive and stuff like that. I guess okay. I didn't watch that many of the matches because it's just time zone and all of that. I watched the final later, rewatched it, and I wasn't that impressed by him. And I then went into his stats for the 2 events they played. He had 3 out of 10 maps positive rating. So 3 out of 10. One was a 16-3 victory over FaZe. Other than that, he had a 1.02 rating and a 1.00 rating. So that's barely positive on 2 of the 10 maps. So overall, like stats-wise, very poor. Impact on the server, kind of okay in some situations. I guess he was playing some, I don't know, rough rolls. He got some clutches that kind of look better. I mean, you get the impact that he's playing insane, even though he's kind of just playing okay. But I wasn't that impressed. I feel like just the hype level is like 20-30% higher than his realistic performance was at these 2 tournaments so far.
I think it just has to do with the expectations that people had towards him, though. Just because I don't think anybody expected anything to come from him, really. Not too much, just at least from somebody who hasn't really played at this kind of level, to just come into a team that obviously, well, I mean, at least in the past has had like the chance to go very high. So I guess that's why like people have been overhyping it, because they just really didn't expect anything at all.
Yeah, and I think that is one part, and one part is also it's just Cloud9, NA player coming into Cloud9, saving the North American Cloud9 thing, and people just want him to succeed, want him to be like the permanent 5th or something like that, so they can keep that like good feeling about themselves. It's like an unexpected story and stuff like that. But I feel like it's not realistic that he's going to be actually sticking in this roster.
No, me either. And I think I agree with what Strike is saying about the expectation. Obviously, nobody thought he would come in and be a world beater. He's playing a lot of Golden's roles and positions. And I think that when you have those things in mind, that he hasn't played it, and to be fair, complexity, you take them out of the equation. Big and FaZe are 2 good opponents within the world, right? Like you have to look at the way that they play Counter-Strike. So he's kind of been thrown in the deep end with this team. They didn't aim for somebody who was more of like a hole filler, right? Like somebody who was more experienced or whatever. They've taken a risk. So that's more where I'm leaning with my, he impressed. It's that he didn't completely shit the bed, right? A lot of players might go into this environment and be super nervous and be unable to play at all. There's lots of different factors there. But yeah, statistically speaking, he is the lowest rated player for Cloud9 over the maps that they've played with him. But Rush as well, if you look at Rush's stats, they're not great either with this roster. So all in all, Cloud9 at the tournament, obviously with the teams there, I think the fact that they beat a team like FaZe 16-3 on what used to be their home map speaks a lot to the skill ceiling, or at least the fact that Flusher and Keo, and obviously Automatic, that they still have a lot of fight left in them. For me, seeing good signs out of Flusher still is great. Like, I thought he was done after the whole Fnatic thing, and I thought when I read interviews, it was like, oh yeah, lacked motivation, all this. But now to see him back and playing some good Counter-Strike, that's very positive signs. And all in all, I think that this team, I'd written them off before, but I don't think I can do that anymore. I think that they're definitely a threat to a lot of squads. And another note is that I think that it's good to see FaZe slightly diversifying their map pool. Like, they were picking Train a lot. That's good to see them moving just away from Mirage, which is all we really would see them picking. So there's some good signs there, and hopefully Yanko can help lift their map pool a little bit before the major kicks off.
Yeah.
Just one thing to add on to Oh,
yeah, you can go.
just one thing to add on to Cloud9. I'm like, this has obviously been going on for maybe a couple of months, but I'm just continuously getting more and more impressed with Automatic and his kind of how he's developing as an opera. I just think that he has a slightly different look not a different look, but just like a little bit more, how to call it? I guess fine-tuned the way he takes angles and peaks and stuff like that, the positions he takes. I'm just really impressed with that.
Yeah, that's just what I was wanting to say. Like he's on the up pretty insane.
All right, well, that now puts us, guys, to our top 3 of the week. So hopefully you guys have been thinking, and we'll start with one random. And not all. So it didn't help you guys at all. No. Maybe Prof was right. No, I'm not going to say that. He's never right. One thing I want Lucas to bring up real quick, though,
I swear to God, that should not have escaped your mouth.
I'm not feeding Prof's ego. It's already far too high. He's already too much of a cunt. So we're going to leave him to sit there at the bottom. Yeah. Lucas, bring up the picture for me, though, please, of Dick Stacey has given us 2 options on his stickers. The one that was kind of turned down and one his mum's helped out with. His mum's one at least looks like maybe little sperms or something at the end of it, potentially. I don't know. Can you go with that? He's
I see that. It took me like a second, honestly.
The thing is, like, I saw it as well, and I was like, this doesn't look that bad. And then you take a second look, and you're like, oh, okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's your mind, like, making the connection on the other side, so it's all in your mind.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. I just want some of Dick Stacey's hot sperm onto
my
hands.
Flip it. He could just write he could just write the big dick, right? Like, I was just going to say like that. Yeah. If he just writes that, then you're getting a lot more sticker sales. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. I mean, I'm not even the most controversial sticker ever.
I'm not sure the second one will go through either. If that's the one that he's going to put in.
You miss all of the shots you don't take.
So. True. I guess. I mean, you only have about 2 weeks before it has to be actually much less than that.
He just needs to plan out like 10, right? Thinking they were going to.
I mean, the stickers will come out much earlier than. I mean, not much earlier, but the stickers are probably due to come out in like a week or something, I guess. So it's like, I guess he doesn't have too much time for like more options than that. So he should just take it a little bit more seriously.
Issue. That's Valve's issue. So Valve will have to just like postpone the stickers.
Yeah, something like that. But it's because of a player being immature, right?
Well,
I mean, he literally signs with a dick.
I know.
Yeah. His signatures on everyone's mouse pads and t-shirts are actually the best. Yeah. We just saw the whole Reddit thread of it. But let's go on to the top 3 of the week, and the person who's going to have to start off this week is going to be Prof, because I don't like you. So
this is not fair. I did it last time.
Shut up. Worst player moves. Top 3. You're going first again.
This is not fair. I'm telling Martin.
Make sure we start.
Tell Martin, and he'll tell you to shut up.
Start with 3 and move up to 1.
Yeah, 3 to 1.
I have literally no idea. I have 2 minutes to give my.
I can go first. It's fine.
Oh, Chad, stop trying to bail the cunt out. You're allowed all the time you want. We're going to throw Prof under the bus. All right, fuck it then. Chad can go because he's being really nice. Prof, you watch yourself.
Thank you very much.
All right, mine isn't going to be a long dive. Is the clock started, Lucas? Are we good? Okay, so first of all, Snacks to Mouse Sports, catastrophic failure. I don't know why they decided to waste so much money on a decision that they didn't need to make. If you watch one of the early episodes of this podcast, you'll see how we went into the fact that the map pool was the issue and the team knew that. They just made a hasty decision, and Snacks at the time was washed up and definitely not worth the amount of money that they paid for him. Second, God sent Fnatic thing, that back and forth, what the fuck were they thinking? They're not living in some kind of Mormon Amish village where you can have multiple wives and swap everything around every second weekend. The fact of the matter is, there was a team that was good and there was a team that was bad, and they opted to change between these rosters and kind of ruin everything, and fuck Swedish Counter-Strike. So that's number 2.
Lucas didn't catch that.
That's Fnatic
Godsend / Fnatic. And then the biggest one of all is me stepping down from Renegades. I should have cut the other people in the organization first and just kept myself there because clearly I'm the best. Stop the clock.
All right. Interesting top 3. Prof, you can go next.
I literally have nothing.
How can you have nothing?
I don't know. Like literally all the rosters.
Look, I'm gonna go that I don't have my. I'm not entirely sure about my number. Actually, I'm sure about my number 1. I'm not sure about my number 2. I have 2 at least. I have number 3. Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go number 3 with KRB to North.
Thank God. Because I was hoping. That's why I thought Chad would have had it.
I was kind of contemplating putting it as first even, but then again, like we don't know if Astralis would have been as good as they were, as good as they are now with KRB in the roster, right?
From a lot of perspective, is that bad?
From anybody's, right? From like, I mean, from the perspective of KRB for sure. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. A minute 30 left.
Yeah, I'm fine. That's the thing, though. Number 2, I might have to skip to number 1 because I can skip to number 1 now just because it's the same thing as Sponge had not with him stepping down from Renegades, but the Fnatic Godsend move. I think that must have been at least among the worst roster moves ever, if not the worst. I think might have been the worst. I'm just trying to think of another one that was kind of like that's the problem. Like I'm missing one roster move. I don't want to go 2018 because that it would just be fucking recency and stuff. I'm sure there have been much worse than that. Mousesports, I mean, Snacks to Mousesports, they still won a tournament. I feel like that's not that great.
I'll give you a bit of inspiration.
There we go.
Devil replacing Keo and Envy was
holy shit,
trash.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Forgot about that.
I was trying to think about the French moves, but then like they mostly swapped. But Devil is actually a good one. I might actually go with that. I'm gonna steal that one. Because that's like the only French change that really went badly. Like most of the time, you just saw them swapping around some players back and forth, and most of the time they still were a very good team after that. Like no matter how, like which player went back or forth, the French teams were always good. But since like that version of Envy, French Counter-Strike has gone to shit. So I like that one. Let's go with Devil.
Right on the money and on the time with just 5 seconds left. Lovely. Thank you. We finally get some sound bites in there as well. Now, Prof, okay. you have the best chance here because Striker had to get help from Sponge. Sponge rattled through his super fast and included himself. So, Prof, you might have a chance of actually being good at something today.
I think I'd go for like let's start with number 2, being Slemmy recruited by Cloud9.
Oh.
That just didn't work at all. Unknown in-game leader coming into the team, top team at the time. Didn't help anything. It was like a good move from Cloud9's side to get an in-game leader, but it wasn't the good move to get him. Yes, Slemmy to Cloud9. So other than that, I had something else. I was thinking about Pimp going to Liquid because that was random as fuck and practically it was bad for both teams because it ended his career as a player and it didn't help Liquid at all. So we can actually put that as the number 3. And I was thinking, and for number 1, I think SK removing Taco last year. For me, that was a big one. Just because obviously the team had some issues, but them going back on the change a year later proves that it wasn't the right thing to do.
Okay. I'm going to get some help from Twitch chat here while you guys can continue to talk around things. So
I mean, we can still mention some. I'm sure we can mention more. Like, let's.
What else? Who do you think here, Twitch chat, is number 1 on their top 3 worst player moves? Give me some inspiration before I make my pick. But yeah, Striker, continue, mate.
I'm just curious about like other really bad roster moves because I was just like I had a hard time coming up with them.
About the whole 100 Thieves thing where they got picked up?
Well, that's not a.
I'd literally say all of the roster moves with the Twins, Brazilians, FNX that happened for a year, but that's not a roster.
That's like 10 different roster moves though. Like that's all like the whole thing combined. That's
Smith's G2 is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, fuck. That's true. But I mean that's like I'm trying to think back, right? Let's go back 3-4 years and see what comes up because I'm trying to just remember like some of the old ones that were just turned out to be really bad. Devil was a good one because that's fairly old.
I was thinking about like Dignitas times, or it wasn't Dignitas at the time. Yeah, when they kicked Magisk, that was a kind of a one. But at the same time, it made sense then, I guess.
Well, that's still North, but okay.
Yeah, that was North at the time.
Yeah. After the PGL major, he got kicked.
I was also thinking about Taz being kicked from Virtus Pro. When maybe,
I mean,
but at the same time, maybe it wasn't that bad.
Gone so far to shit that I feel like it's not a.
Yeah. It's pretty hard. Like, did anyone say anything in the chat that we missed?
Easy to phase.
That was good at the time.
That was
like,
good.
That was okay at the time.
That was really good at the time, all things considered. Trying to think of the older names we had back then.
That's the problem, right? Like, it's so hard to remember like whatever happened 5 years ago, like which specific roster moves. Like NIP didn't really make any bad ones. Like they had Pyth, that like the Pyth version was kind of meh, I guess.
But they still won a tournament, and he was injured like half the time, so
exactly. Like there was some other problems with that, and so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
So they're saying Na'Vi removing Zeus, but I see that as actually ended up being a good thing. Like it spurred him on a bit to actually go and do something good again because he was dropping off.
Didn't they get? Would they get that at the time?
No, so they moved C's to in-game leader. They had
and got simple, right?
They got simple.
How
can that be a bad move?
Was it simple for Zeus?
I mean, am I fucking?
We need to go back. I'll need to check this.
Was it simple for Zeus?
I'm trying to remember. I did my compy.
If it was simple for Zeus, then definitely not a bad.
At that time, it made sense, as in they had like the coaching in-game leader thing. Yeah, it was Zeus went out.
Simple came
July
in. 2016,
August 2016 is simple.
Striker, you wrote it.
Okay, fair enough.
You should know this. How do you remember this?
That's what I said, right?
Striker, you only wrote 10,000 articles. How do you not remember every single one?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when Crystal was benched for the 26th time?
I mean, backstabbed by one of his German teammates.
Yeah,
like,
when he was backstabbed out of the major for the 3rd time.
Do I get my top 3 trophy yet? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I would give it to Sponge. Obviously, he was doing some research on the side. Fucking bitch.
I would give it to Sponge if he didn't choose himself. But he also contributed to both of yours. So he helped you guys out, which meant he technically had more in the overall things. But sadly, Prof, I am going to give you the win, even if I really don't want to. If I'm being fair, Prof is the one that deserves it. Just because the Pimp to Liquid one, very true. Slam into Cloud9, you can't really doubt that. And the SK removing Taco thing obviously has come full circle in the end of it.
By the way.
Well, they do make the worst decisions.
NACS.
Sponge got a crown from...
How did Sponge get a crown? I guess for helping everyone else, yeah. MVP, okay. Lucas says MVP. So Chad's the MVP. Prof, even if I don't want to give you the win, you still get it.
That was a good one. Fuck.
The
2-day transfer.
Wait, didn't we have something
the drama around it?
Didn't we have something that literally just like lasted a day? Like a pretty top tier one. I'm trying to remember. I just seem to recall something like that happening. But whatever. I guess that's it.
All right. Well, next one we get on to go on to the lovely topic, boys. That I know we've kind of covered probably across many shows. It is the Danish struggle, and the reason this is the Danish struggle, we're going to start off with just North as a team, right? I don't want to go into the other side of it where we're going to talk about what we do to fix all this madness. But North have underperformed for the longest time. We saw that nice victory where MSL got his last, like, Hail Mary. Hey, look, I can win a tournament, and then we're going to boot you anyway. We bring in Cadian. You have all the pieces of the puzzle, these individually skilled players. You have a good coaching team. You have a huge organization behind you that is certainly known for just wanting wins in football, that is, and they expect the same from their CS team. And yet you cannot make this team work despite, on paper, having things that looks like this team should be fucking top 5.
Can I just quickly go on a venomous diatribe before we get started that everyone else can... I just want to say, any of these people who thought what Wimp posted on Twitter was at all in bad fucking faith... Like, if anybody thought that what he posted was bad, you're one of those people I was talking about before who needs to go and be one of these fucking snowflakes, go outside and dig some holes in 40-degree heat or some shit, because you need to sort yourself out, right? Because what he said was how everybody was feeling. He wasn't fucking going out there and he wasn't devaluing Vici's win. If you read it that way, then you fucking obviously have no idea about context. The fact of the matter is, like I stated before, North were the stark fucking favorites in this whole thing. And not only did they underperform to such a level, they let themselves down, right? This is the fact that you think that they're happy with the result. They're obviously pissed off as fuck. And exactly like you just said, Banks, the amount of structure and everything that these guys have going for themselves, they have some of the best in the world. So the fact of the matter is, if you read that and you got your nose put out of joint by it, you've never played in a competitive fucking team in your life, you have no idea what you're talking about, just shut your fucking mouth.
Lucas, bring up the tweet for me, please, as well, Lucas.
A competitive player, it's just like life in general.
Yeah, life in
you
general,
have a goal set for you, like you have these results behind you. There is something you're expected to do. There's someone that has like a lot less achievements. Their goals are way lower than you, and they overachieve you. Of course, you are disappointed. You're gonna be feeling bad, and you're just gonna be mega tilted, and that is absolutely reasonable. Like that tweet that came in. I don't know. Yeah, that I don't know what to say. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
absolutely deserve to feel and say, like, he didn't even disrespect Vici. He didn't say like, oh, we lost to a shit team. He just said, we're mega disappointed. This should not happen. Especially like the way they lost. It wasn't even fairly. I mean, it's fairly close on the maps, but it didn't even win a single map. So.
There we go. We got the tweet up as well. This is not okay. A worthless showing of CS from start to finish. I've never been more embarrassed in my life. It will take a long time to recover from this, and we will have to question our approach from A to Z. Sorry to everyone who cheered for us. We deserve nothing. And that is actually a positive tweet. That, like you were saying, Chad, there's no negativity in that, right? That shows that they want more than what they've had. They expect more than what they had. And it is embarrassing because it's not the fact they've lost to Vici, but they didn't even really put up a fight when it comes to it, right? There's just the whole recent journey for North has been an embarrassment.
The whole tweet doesn't even mention Vici at all.
No, exactly.
Just said, our CS is bad. Doesn't say anything about the other team.
Yeah. And Wimp as well, right? He's a champion himself. He knows what it fucking takes, and he knows how these players are feeling. When you lose something like this, they're all going to be tilted. I remember seeing, I think it was KOB Pro League when they went out super early, right? They dropped off then, and he was just like, I can't put my finger on it. They actually don't fucking know. They're completely in a situation of what is going wrong here. And I don't know, they just need some motivation, I guess, or a different mix-up, and we'll come on to that, right, in terms of how we think this could work. But is this where we come back to what we said on last week's episode? Give Carrigan North, give him the money he wants, give him the opportunity he wants, and say, go build the fucking roster. But who would be in that roster?
I mean, just look at this North roster, right? Like, you have the obvious carry there, that is Valde, who is basically the best, probably by far the best Danish player outside of Astralis. It's like 100%. There's even by the top 20 that we had, he was number 20, right? The only Danish player outside of Astralis to make the list. And that's not even a competition. Like that, I can't come up with anybody that comes close to his level. So that's like, but that, when you look further than that, like, you don't really have an X factor besides him, right? Like, you have a lot of instability in that team. Like, you don't really know whether, I mean, you don't expect a lot of stability from AZ. Like, we've just known him to be super unstable all the time. KRB has kind of actually turned into the same thing, especially under Cadian. He's actually not been playing well under Cadian at all. And like, Gate is one of those the least experienced player on that team, right? And you don't expect the in-game leader and the opper to Cadian to actually put up to like insane numbers. So I feel like there's issues with stability, with firepower. There's issues all over the place.
Just listen to this, right? I've just compiled a list of Danish players who maybe aren't household names, but you may have heard of, and they may have like done some cool things once upon a time, right? Listen to this list. It's quite extensive. So I've grouped the first bunch together, which is just in-game leaders, right? Or maybe not traditional in-game leaders, but they're doing in-game leadership stuff now. Carrigan, Cadian, Snappy, Asilian, Torben, Hunden, and MSL, right? There's quite a few fantastic Counter-Strike minds there. Carrigan, MSL, obviously. Hunden is a very good Counter-Strike mind. Asilian has taken over the in-game leadership role in more recent times. I think he's doing a good job. Torben's done a good thing with a very young roster. Snappy is another player who's been around since 1.6. He has a veteran history when it comes to being a player and in-game leading in CSGO. All right, now listen to these names. AZ, Kirby, Gade, Valder, Cajun B, Yugi, Config, Refresh, S-Tag, Mertz, Blame F, who's just now playing. I put Pimp on the list because he may return to playing at any time. I don't know what Jacob's doing. He can't put my finger on him. Tensky, Glace, Starvin, Dragonfly, A&J. Then I'm starting to have to really scrape the barrel, but we've got I think Nato Suffix. Yeah, I think he's good. We've got obviously people. Percy played with Nato Suffix for a little while. They have Cycron as well, I believe. Then names like
another one of those in-game leader types, though.
Yeah, Borup, Acor. There's like obviously the list could keep going, but those are names who I've seen play before, and I've gone, oh, there's potentially a bit of talent, within these kind of guys. That's a shitload of names. There's a lot of names there.
You'd give that for any region. That's a dream.
That's fucking fantastic, and I agree with Striker's point. Volda is your mantelpiece. If I'm North, I'm getting the other 4, and I'm putting them in an academy team, and I'm keeping Valde as my piece, right? And I'm bringing in 6 more players, and I'm bringing in 5 more players. I'm putting one of them down with the academy players, and I'm having 4 guys, right? And you chop and change whenever these cunts aren't performing to the level that they should be. And you already got these guys on contract. Why the fuck not? Like let's think realistically right now. If you could tear down the walls and start again, sure. But there's money and contracts and all this kind of stuff, so we can't just do that so simply. But I would, as much as you can sit here and you can go, oh, Carrigan didn't perform very well with Envy, I'm gonna give a fuck.
That's fucking irrelevant.
This guy's been playing against the top teams in the world consistently for the majority of CSGO. If you don't know the guy's history towards the end of 1.6, go and do a little bit of research. He was a very good fragger back then. I think that he still has a lot to offer as an individual, and I think he's continuously learning. And this Envy experience is probably only going to make him more well-rounded as an in-game leader. The only thing that he lacked towards the end of Astralis, and the exact same thing that happened to him in FaZe, is they had so much heartbreak and they never got across the line that eventually the players are going to stop believing in you. That's just the way it goes. That's just it. So you get Carrigan and you have Valde. You have 2 good players to start with. Now pick and choose however the fuck you want. I think that you can get a lot out of so many of these names, right? I don't think Cajun B is completely done. I think considering the role he plays in teams, he does a very good job at that role. I think if you could maximize the potential you get over Yugi as an AWPer, he should be your AWPer. I think if watching Kyobi try and do his aim with the AUG or the Krieg it made me vomit in my mouth because it was really bad, right? It works with the M4 and the AK. He makes it work, but he obviously hasn't had the same level of practice with the newer weapons. Watching him do that was oh my god, my fucking foot was in my mouth half the time. I think AZ's done. I think AZ at this level, he's done. He's on toast. Unfortunately, I really like AZ as a player, and he's one of these child stars. Who's the kid from Home Alone? Macaulay Culkin. Okay, so AZ is like the Macaulay Culkin. I'm not saying the way he looks, but in the fact that like he was a child star, like he obviously went to FaZe. There's a lot of hype. He had a Deagle round on some map somewhere. Anyway, I think he had all this hype, and then like he was never able to live up to that hype. And I think mentally, that's his biggest issue, right? I don't think he can ever get past the idea that AZ, we expect him to be here, but unfortunately he's here, right? So I think like he's done. So I think if you get your Valde, your Carrigan, your Yugi, that's your base, and now you can add in a mix of any 2 other players into that. I think Gade as a impact player, especially on CT side with multi kills, he has his positions where he can do it. I don't know how well rounded he is. I need to keep watching more and see him play new spots. But I think to put him close to main on train on the CT side, he's getting 2. Put him in his comfort positions, he's getting you 2 frags. I think that's quite nice. You're quite happy with that. But you need an explosive factor, and Yugi hasn't lived up to that either. Yugi is my Kusta. Moses has Kusta. I have Yugi. They've just never really been able to do what they have to do. I actually think maybe I would give a chance to S-Tag. I think when he was doing the star role within Heroic, he was very impressive.
I love S-Tag.
It's mainly on the realms of online, but I think that there's a chance to be had there. And if Config, I don't know what the problem with Config is. He's a fantastic player. If you could put, I'm speculating here. I have no idea, but I'm speculating that has to be a personality thing. That's the only thing that I can put my finger on here. But if you can reel him in and you can control him, you get the team: Valde, Yugi, Config,
Carrigan.
Yeah, Carrigan, and maybe Gade. And I think that's a pretty fucking legit roster.
I was like, well, okay. I guess Gade could have been a good one. I was actually thinking about Cajun B in that lineup. I actually had the same thing as you, except for Gade, and I actually kind of was thinking about Cajun B as kind of like
Did you skip an AWPer, or did
no, Yugi.
I do Yugi or S-Tag, either or. I think like Yugi hasn't really locked himself in, so he could be replaced pretty easy.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe under Kerrigan he would have like worked a little bit differently. I have no idea. Like, we've talked about this over and over and over. I have no idea how Yugi hasn't become like an insane AWPer. It's just like he was at a really good point with Heroic at some point. And then like whenever the new lineup under Optic got formed, he just fell off.
I got bored of hyping him up because like
exactly
it's like, oh, Yugi, this is your chance, you can do it, and then
exactly,
oh, wait a second, the disappointment sets in.
That's the thing. Like that was the piece that I was thinking about the longest. But then again, like I'm not even sure about S03E04 either, because he seemed a little unstable as well. He would have probably needed some honing. But I mean, this is all stuff that Kerrigan could probably help with, and kind of like try to develop a little bit more. And I'm sure Kerrigan is the type of a guy who would do that, like exactly the type. So I feel like he could help in that aspect a lot.
I was thinking about this, and my approach was, of course, Kerrigan, Valde. I think Kirby has enough to still provide. He's only 20. He's 20 years old. Already major MVP, major winner, top 20 a couple of times, I think. Obviously, entry fragger can do a role that not a lot of people want to do, which is pretty great, I think. And also, he has a history with Kerrigan, so I think he would automatically be kind of supportive to whatever he wants to do with the team. And then what I would actually do, I'd take out the check and I'd get Hunden to be the coach. And with Hunden, figure out the last two players. Like, he knows all of these kids. He knows Yugi,
Sure, yeah.
Eseta, he knows whoever's left, Config. He played with all of them. And I think if you get him as the coach and work on, just have him not even be like a mega tactical coach, but have him just keep these kids in check, because I think that's Yugi's problem, probably Config's problem as well, if that can happen. But of course, you would have to give him a bit of power and a bit of, I don't know, let him do whatever he wants. If someone isn't going to listen to him, not going to show on time on practice, not going to put in the hours, whatever. But I think getting Yugi and Hunden, I think that combo could work. They have some history together. I think, yeah, Yugi must have been playing with them back in in 2016 or whatever. And in the end, maybe even for the fifth guy, I'd take Nico as the glue of the team, and just be.
Didn't even mention him, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
just be
point.
someone that can fit in and do whatever is needed. And I think maybe it's not like the craziest firepower wise, but you have Valde, you have Derby, and potentially you have Yugi, who is now activated and playing like a decent level as an AWPer. With that those three, Kerrigan who can frag can be the secondary AWPer, and then Nico just being whatever is needed.
The one thing I want to add to this as well is that, like, Risk just said this in chat. He said there are so many up-and-coming players as well, putting in 40-plus hours each week without being on a contract in Denmark, so we might see some new blood coming in soon. And that's quite an interesting point, right? Because we've all been to events in Denmark, and this scene is crazy. We see these young guys who are still grinding out, come playing. They're all super fans of CSGO. They're seeing what's happening throughout their nation. So there's obviously a whole nother level to this that we might be able to see over the next few years as well. So there is so much talent coming through that you'd think that all of these guys, on terms of like all these ones that are still at this top level at the moment or about to break the top level, they should be super motivated and hungry. This isn't the time to slack off or fall off here as well.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the HL teams that you have in Denmark on HLTV. There's like 15 of them. Of course, not that much of results, but they're all playing. They're all grinding. They have like a lot of them have some form of support, be it like a small, I don't know, football club or whatever the thing is. Copenhagen Flames, Strict, Lyngby Vikings. All of these guys are like grinding it out all the time. So if these guys that are on the top don't like get a move on, then as you said, someone is just gonna overtake them.
And right up behind them, that's what they're thinking about as well. Because like we're seeing some of the young talent already come through, but there's so much opportunity and potential. And when you can't get shit together like now, even more so.
I mean, just like, okay, let's say Staven, right? That's another guy who could just like easily make it into that top, like higher level of Danish CS.
How old is he now? Still like 16?
I think he's 17, 18 even. No, 16.
16.
There you go.
16.
See, look, that's crazy. We've been talking about that guy for ages, and he's only 16.
The thing with him is,
give him a couple of years, and he's going to be on one of those top teams probably.
If I'm thinking of the same kid, his brother is Dragonfly, right? And then the coach that I guess maybe is doing more of is also one of the brothers. So maybe he's a bit reluctant because of certain things like that. But obviously that's here nor there. I think that's something that
eventually the right offer comes. Surely he'd go. Hopefully he doesn't just sit around and destroy his own career.
Look, if like somebody like North comes with their 20,000 plus salary, like that's already enough of a reason. Like, sure, brothers and all, sure, but like at some point you have to think about your career.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that Prof's solution of getting Hunden in there as the coach is probably. No, this is no offense to Ave and Wimp. I think that they're obviously fantastic and they're legends of the game, but they've come in after the fact I think Prof makes a fantastic point that Hunden has been there with a lot of these youngsters for the history of CS:GO. So his understanding of the personalities and what's truly possible is deeper than the outside view of what they're looking at. I think that's a pretty good idea when it comes to selecting the other players. But we know who the important pieces of the puzzle are, and that's no disrespect to the other players who are in the team, but we know obviously that there's some key standouts for some of these roles. So I think that we all know there's a lot of talent. Oops, sorry to everybody. We know there's a lot of talent. We all know that Denmark really does produce. I don't want to see them drop off the face of the earth like we had Swedish Counter-Strike. Obviously, Astralis is going nowhere. But when you do have Astralis leading the way, it's not the pressure to be the second best team in the world. It's just the pressure that you have so many talented players, and right now it feels like you're squandering a lot of that. So hopefully they can get their shit together, because Danish Counter-Strike has brought us some of my favorite CS memories over the last few years.
Striker, at one point you said something like, if you have such a good team like Astralis, then you can't have another good team in the country. Like, what was that about?
I mean,
Can you explain that?
That was more as a jab against Martin. It was just basically bashing North, was it? I don't remember. But basically, I said that it's an unwritten rule that you can only have one great team in Denmark.
Like in Denmark or any country?
Just in Denmark.
Okay.
Just a trigger.
I didn't have a reasoning behind it.
I thought that was like some sort of your.
No, but I mean, it has like, okay, look at the history though. Like, sure, they've always had like a lot of good teams, but they've only ever had like one great team ever, and that's like Astralis.
They do have like 4.5 million people or something.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, they've always had like a lot of teams like down below the elite, but they've never had anybody outside of Astralis, TSM, Dignitas, blah blah blah, make it through to that elite level. Like nobody outside of that core has made it to a consistent elite level. So yeah, it's kind of like that was like half a joke what I said to Martin, that there can only be one great team, because that's just what it's been like. Like none of these other in-game leaders have been able to take their lineups up there.
Let's see if that changes.
That's the thing. Like you can't. I mean, to have two Danish teams in like the top 5 of the world consistently would be pretty crazy, but
you have same realms as I put a lot of teams in there, right? Like right now, we've seen a lot of roster changes to topple Astralis. That's behind the MIBR change. That's behind the Liquid changes, etc. But I think that certain teams shouldn't be playing for the best in the world. They should be playing for where it's possible for them to be ranked. And I know that sounds like a loser's mentality, but in traditional sports, and as much as I hate making that comparison, not everybody can be the best in the world, right? It doesn't work that way. We have a tournament structure that allows more teams to win tournaments and have sporadic results here, there, and everywhere. But I think like right now, North aren't playing like the 11th best team in the world, right? I think that goes without saying. Do I think that Denmark has the skill to have another team within the top 10? Definitely. Do I think Denmark has another team to be in the top 5? Potentially, but less likely. So I think it's at no point would I ever expect Denmark to have the top 2 teams in the world. That would just be fucking insanity. Yeah. But we say that. Think about during the Ninjas in Pajamas and Fnatic situation, right? Yeah. Obviously, they weren't 1 and 2, but they were definitely very competitive squads within the realms of CS for a long time, until they were very stubborn about roster moves and then found themselves in a position where, oh shit, where's the next generation? Now we have to take risks. That's why you have the Drake and bullshit and obviously Pitt, and there's a lot of other players that they tried and didn't work until they found the Brolins of the world, you know? So it's been proven that it is possible to have very competitive teams within the same realms. It's just, is it likely considering the current landscape of Counter-Strike? Probably not.
No.
I want to ask this of you guys. Lucas says he can't do it on screen, but just one by one, your top 5 of kind of how you would put a new roster together from this crazy mix. Can you guys, or would you guys give us that? Because I think that'd be quite interesting to see the differences of all of it.
Kind of saying it, right?
You've all done it on like you've all input, but I'm saying your choice only, you decide. So start with Chad, for example. Your 5 you want, then Striker, then Prof.
I feel like with the discussion we had, it was kind of good. I think Valder has to be the number 1 puzzle piece. Get Karrigan as the in-game leader. I think that I would probably still take the risk on Yugi as the AWP, and then I would like to see Config uses the more explosive, the opener for the team, and then I don't know. I'd have to pick between Gade and Cajun B. So either of those two would be my fifth.
I mean, that was just going to be a copycat because I 100% agree on those four. Just because like Mertz, we've seen that test not work out. So Yugi is like the second obvious option. Esetag is somewhere down there as well, I guess. But I mean, I'm not sold on him either. So it's just like potential-wise, I feel like Yugi is by far the highest. So I would put him there as well and just try him with another in-game leader. Try to put him outside of Snappy and see what happens, because we haven't really seen Yugi outside of Snappy's grasp basically for a very long time. And I'm not saying it's Snappy's fault. Who knows? Like at this point, nobody knows what's happening with Yugi. But I definitely agree that he should be there just to see what happens if Kerrigan gets a hold of him and just kind of like tries to activate him himself. Because it obviously hasn't really happened with Snappy, so let's try it elsewhere. Config was the one that I was, I guess, thinking about the most, just because he hasn't been the Config that we knew in 2016, say, for quite a long. I mean, basically ever since then. Like since 2016, he hasn't really been at his level. So I wasn't entirely sold on him, but I would still pick him just for the style that he has and him being the opener, like Sponge said. And as the last one, I was initially thinking Cajun B, and I'd probably edge towards that as well. But then again, you could also like try to bank on one of these youngsters as well. Like Yugi would be one of those, I guess, but he's still fairly proven already, even though he hasn't really been showing that lately. But he's obviously been around on like the semi-top level for quite a long time now. But maybe we could give, I don't know, maybe not Stavan yet, but one of those guys, maybe Refresh or somebody like that to give them a try, I guess, instead of like Emerge. But the problem is, you're missing like.
Wasn't this about you saying 5 names?
No.
Moving on and not talking for 2
look,
minutes.
I've already picked 4. I'm just like going through the motions, right? I'm just trying to figure out in my head what it's going to be. But I'm going to stick with Cajun because of the role thing. Same thing that I said with Config. I feel like you have to have somebody like Cajun in a team, and one of those youngsters would not be able to do it. So that's my 5. So it's basically the same thing as Sponge
Valdi,
said.
Carrigan, Yugi, Cajun. Config, and then you want Cajun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ruff, your turn.
Carrigan, Valde, Kierby, Yugi, Nico, and Hunden as the coach. And a lot of people are mentioning Refresh. I think he's too unproven, and I don't know how good he is
Yeah.
yet. So
the problem is, like, you already have a lot of... Oh?
We died.
I'll go for it.
Hello. Am I still there?
I thought Lucas died, so the whole stream went down. But yeah, I think Refresh is hyped over his, like, where he is and what he has done so far. So I'd just pass for now and see how it develops.
Yeah. You're the only one that had Kirby in there. I'd agree with that. I definitely want to see him still. Like you said, he's still young. He's got all that ability in there. Just needs to see it utilized correctly again. We can only wait and see, though, boys. We can only wait and hope. It's a dream right now, right? But something definitely has to change between the Optic and the North rosters, because they're certainly not living up to standard. And there's a whole pool of Danish players in there. So moving on, we'll go on to our questions coming in from chat and stuff like that. Did we have any that come from Twitter in the end, Striker or Prof? Did you find any from there?
I mean, I was just scrolling through it while we were talking about something, and there was just like a lot of things that we've already discussed.
Oh.
So that was a problem.
I've got a good one here. We said, can we talk about Vitality going out in the Sydney qualifier? Lul.
I mean, online qualifiers, open qualifiers
they
on
lose
top.
to a UK team with
Endpoint, right? They
What
lost
UK
to
team?
Endpoint, right?
What UK team?
Endpoint, right?
Endpoint.
Didn't they lose to them?
Dear God.
Yeah. And I don't know who the fifth player was, but it was also non-UK player. But
I mean, that is.
Did you guys cover this? Can I see the match?
It wasn't.
No, it was
HLTV.
not. It was past. We only covered the top 16, I think.
Oh, you fucking elitist cunts.
Lucas might be able to bring
it.
this up. I just put a screenshot of it in. Wait, yeah, that's right. You might be able to put. Lucas might be able to put that up for everybody.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
There we go.
AVN, also Serbian player.
Hey.
It's so weird to see all those French people with German tags because they're like at a boot camp place.
Let's just note the two Serbian players were the lowest rated for the team.
That's crazy. Pulse and Mighty Man. Pulse has been playing for years.
They're not the lowest rated, by the way. This is ESCA. It's not ordered. Yeah. AVN is actually the highest.
I was looking at the frags.
Oh, okay. But it's still. Oh yeah, that's true. But I mean, the RWS, the ESCA's version of like a rating, I guess.
Interesting.
Impact player, AVN.
Thomas the Tank Engine still in there doing well. That's all right. That's good to see.
Thomas and Max, back when I worked a couple of Gfinity events, they were only playing against other UK players, but it felt like they were a couple of levels above some of the UK guys. So it's good that they're still having a crack. But I think to lose in that scoreline is not fantastic at all. I think if it was like a 16-14 or 16-12 or something like that, then we could maybe be throwing around the online Counter-Strike kind of. It
was on Mirage as well. What?
Well, see, the problem with Mirage is it's a map that I think relies heavily on Apex to find the openings, especially with the way that he plays. He's a player who kind of feels his way around the map, right? So if Zawi's not able to drop 40, then you're going to have yourself a bit of a hard time. All in all, I think that it's just the way the cookie crumbles. I guess the thing is, if Vitality are able to go to the next stage of the major and they're able to perform well there, that's yourself opening your door to get these invitations, because I think there's nobody would argue that the realms of the online qualifiers are just an absolute gauntlet of up and down. Unfortunately, we live in a world where, like I went on my rant before about the minor system, there's only so many points where we can do stuff on LAN. We have so many tournaments year round. Stuff just physically has to be done online. I don't really care if you're one of these people who are like, why do we have online Counter-Strike? Online Counter-Strike is how we actually learn about new and up-and-coming players. Yeah. FPL, the rank S's of the world, this is where they're actually playing, right? We don't have a possibility to have everybody at a LAN cafe all the time. So it's an unfortunate loss. I don't think it's a bad sign for them going into the major at all. I just think it's a sign of the times with Counter-Strike, and if anything, it's a good sign. It just shows that the competitive nature of the game is there. It's better than just having the better teams always walking over opponents. I think it gives us a good sign of maybe things to come with British Counter-Strike. So all in all, disappointing for the French, positive for the British. Call the cops.
We've finally got one. There's a positive in there. Maybe Smoothie benched himself because he saw Endpoint and he's like, I'll go back to where I come from and I'll make it work. I'll bring the experience.
This is not a bad one. I guess we've already kind of touched on it before. Not in this episode, but just in general. There was a question on Twitter. Do you guys think Nico will be a successful IGL in the long run?
Ooh,
I feel like I know the answer already, but that's an interesting question.
I think in the long run, without it affecting his output as a player, it's definitely going to affect his output as a player.
That's the thing.
I think he could definitely be probably the strongest candidate for a fragging in-game leader if he adopts the role permanently. And I think with Yanko behind him, it will take a bit of weight off his shoulders. I know you could argue at the E-League event he had one of his worst rated events, one of his worst rated games there. But I think that all in all, I think you can get more out of him if he doesn't have to be the in-game leader of the team. He doesn't have to micromanage. Doesn't have to. It takes up a lot of mental capacity. So. I know he's definitely capable. He's a fantastic player, a very switched on individual. I just think that you get more out of him if he didn't have to in-game lead as well. That's all.
Yeah, and you can also kind of see him like play a little bit differently, just style-wise, and taking like different fights at different times and stuff like that. I feel like it is affecting him. If not like his output, it's especially like at least the style that he has and kind of his timing. So I feel like I have to agree with that for sure.
All right, we got one here as well. It says, this is directly to you, Spun. It says, you have mentioned that you tried to talk to CSGO devs when at majors. What is their response to undeveloped system compared to other Valve game like Dota 2? You're probably not going to know the answers to that at all.
No clue.
It's a very contrasting answer because they're two completely different dev teams, and a lot of the ideas that I get is they're two completely separate entities. I know they're part of the same company, but they don't really want to overlap. And a lot of their approaches now, there's things that Dota have that are really good. There's things that Counter-Strike that are really good. And I think that a cool kind of thing that the company not wanting to necessarily, take everything from each other's game that's good is they're getting to learn what works, right? To answer your question regarding the matchmaking situation, it's been a long time since I've spoken to them about matchmaking specifically. I apologize to all of you more casual players out there. That's not necessarily something towards the top of the food chain. We, unlike Dota, I know Dota has a couple, but we've always had a lot more third-party things that have facilitated pickup games, which is kind of means that Valve don't have that same necessity and need. And you also have to consider a lot of the user base of Counter-Strike players. Counter-Strike is obviously very popular in a lot of different countries all over the world, but one of the reasons that they gave me a long time ago was purely based on, especially like if for the argument of 128 tick servers, is that people's PCs may not be good enough to function on that. Now, you can argue that until the cows come home, but Valve are the ones who actually have the game on your fucking computer and can see what type of people, what computers are actually playing the game. So unless you have their statistics and you can make a valid argument with that, these people are very switched on individuals. There's some very smart people. The way that you speak to them, I physically can't. I tried to talk to them and I'll ask them a question or I'll pose something to them, and the way that they break it down and ask me back a question, I would have to go sit in a room and meditate to think about an answer because they're thinking on different levels to me, and they go, why should something be like this? And I go, well, just because, and that's not really a good enough answer. And you get humbled very quickly talking to these people. So I used to be a proponent of being against quite a lot of the things that they were doing, and it seemed like it would bewilder me. But the older I get, and the more that I try and think like them, the more understanding I get for it. A lot of people would say that's a sellout mentality. There's still lots of stuff that they do that I don't agree with. And let me just set the record straight on this. I think that there are a lot of positive things over a lot of different gaming and esports titles that Valve could very easily copy and implement within their game. I think that there's so much room for improvement on a lot of different facets of Counter-Strike as a whole, whether you talk about scheduling, whether you talk about the matchmaking system, so many different things like that. But is the game at the best place Counter-Strike has ever been at in the history of all the titles? Yes. Does Valve have any clear competitor when it comes to a game like Counter-Strike? No. If you're still making billions upon billions of dollars, why the fuck are you going to push yourself harder for a community who just seems to fucking snap at you no matter what you do? It's like having a girlfriend who gets mad at you even if you fucking cook her dinner and buy you flowers, you know? So lots of things I don't see eye to eye. I understand a lot of the mentality they have on a lot of things. All in all, I appreciate the fact that the game is at this position and we get to sit here and talk for 2.5 hours about a video game that's been a part of my life for 15 years. So yeah, cool.
And just to add what you're saying there, Chad, about the whole Valve thing, a lot of us, like I, for example, work across multiple games, not just Counter-Strike, and when you go to these developers and work directly with them who don't have such a grasp on it or such a good idea, it makes you really appreciate how good Valve actually are, because I have to deal with a lot of shit. I'm not going to complain about these people specifically. They pay me money to do a job, but they don't have a clue in comparison to what Valve put in and how Valve's decision are made. So much like you were saying there, and everyone just gives them shit the whole time, try and look at some other games. Try and look at some console games, for example, and they're in a much worse way. We are very spoilt in Counter-Strike across the board and have been for quite some time.
I gave them copious amounts of shit when the economy change happened. Like, I was awake at 3 a.m. in the morning just tweeting. Like, my reaction to that was, how the fuck can they change something which I've loved for so long? But they've actually restored it more to the way it used to be, if anything. So they know what they're doing in some occasions. Obviously not all of them. The revolver, like, just Jesus.
I feel like that happens to every developer at some point, though. They just push out something that they just massively underrated and things like that.
Imagine reverting the revolver and the AUG to that.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god, best AUG ever. And the revolver before the major.
It would literally be just the only two weapons used on the CT side ever.
All right, last question I'm going to take, because a lot of people... Oh, you can add more to it, Striker?
I was just going to agree with Sponge in, like, the experience of talking to the devs. It's just that this is more of a secondhand thing for me. Like, I've sparsely talked to them. It's mostly from other people and kind of in what way they've presented their conversations with Valve to me. It's just that they make you look at issues from a very different angle. Like in a way that you haven't really looked at it before. They make you question everything that you kind of suggest and stuff like that. So they just like make you kind of understand a lot of different angles about whatever your issue is, and that's how they communicate really, and that's how they think about the game. So it's like while it doesn't really excuse them from some of the decisions they made, it's just the way they operate. I guess it's actually makes you understand a little bit better how they work when you actually hear about some of these conversations.
People think that when you go and talk to Valve, you ask a question and then Valve answers, but that's not how it works. You ask a question and then they ask a question back to you. Then you need to like explain your idea more in depth and go like one step back, and then and then at that point they ask you another question. Then you need to go another step back, and then like after 5 questions, you come to a point where you understand what their issue with your idea or general CS fans' idea is and why they don't want to do it. So that's kind of how it functions.
All right, so last thing that a lot of people put in chat, and obviously some of us can comment on this, some of us can't, the whole thing with DDK and Bardolph not being at the major this time around. I'll just say there that, like, obviously they're a great duo who deserve to be at the major potentially, but if it means we see new people come through, I'm not against that. As someone who's not on the upper top ends of CSGO talent life, I would say that any new talent that get an opportunity to shine at an event like a major should be welcomed. It's a good thing to see.
I agree with that.
What do you want to say?
The thing is, like, my subjective opinion is that my subjective opinion of James and DDK is that they have a very low lows. They have a very low standard, but when they get to the peaks, they're an insane duo. Like they are among my favorites when they get to the stage games. They are very good at those, like at using the crowd energy and stuff like that. So from a subjective opinion, like to miss them in groups, I don't really mind too much, to be honest. Like I might as well just have like one of those like lower tier, I guess. Like I've been enjoying Tombiz a lot like lately. So if he gets to cast the major, for example, like I'd actually be very glad for that. So like from my subjective opinion, I don't mind too much. Like I'm probably gonna miss like those playoffs games where they actually got a lot of the good ones, like insane plays and stuff like that. So that's the thing that I'll probably miss this major, if we get like one of those moments again where you'd feel like, what if like James was casting this game or whatever like that. But that's probably the only angle that I would be disappointed that they aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, just from a technical aspect of casting, I think DDK is pretty good, but I'm not really mega impressed by James's casting. I mean, it's not like he's like a mega great voice, hype, and all of this. Of course, when Simple makes the best play of the world, then okay, it sounds good. But like, there are other casters that are also technically pretty skilled. Maybe did a lot more events in the last year, so people recognize that. See, these guys are hungry. Maybe they should get a shot. I don't know. I mean,
just the only 2 weapons used on the CT side ever.
All right, last question I'm going to take because a lot of people. Oh, you can add more to it, Striker.
I was just going to agree with Sponge in like the experience of talking to the devs. It's just that this is more of a secondhand thing for me. Like I've sparsely talked to them. It's mostly from other people and kind of in what way they've presented their conversations with Valve to me. It's just that they make you look at issues from a very different angle. Like in a way that you haven't really looked at it before. They make you question everything that you kind of suggest and stuff like that. So that they just like make you kind of understand a lot of different angles about whatever your issue is, and that's how they communicate really, and that's how they think about the game. So it's like while it doesn't really excuse them from some of the decisions they made, it's just the way they operate. I guess it's actually makes you understand a little bit better how they work when you actually hear about some of these conversations.
I mean, people think that when you go and talk to Valve, you ask a question and then Valve answers, but that's not how it works. You ask a question and then they ask a question back to you. Then you need to like explain your idea more in depth and go like one step back, and then and then at that point they ask you another question. Then you need to go another step back, and then like after 5 questions, you come to a point where you understand what their issue with your idea or general CS fans' idea is and why they don't want to do it. So that's kind of how it functions.
All right, so last thing that a lot of people put in chat, and obviously some of us can comment on this, some of us can't, the whole thing with DDK and Bardolph not being at the major this time around. I'll just say there that, like, obviously they're a great duo who deserve to be at the major potentially, but if it means we see new people come through, I'm not against that. As someone who's not on the upper top ends of CSGO talent life, I would say that any new talent that get an opportunity to shine at an event like a major should be welcomed. It's a good thing to see.
Not
I
sure what to
agree
say
with that.
here. What do you want to say?
The thing is, like, my subjective opinion is that just like my subjective opinion of James and DK is that they have a very low lows. They have a very low standard, but when they get to the peaks, they're an insane duo. Like they are among my favorites when they get to the stage games. They are very good at those, like at using the crowd energy and stuff like that. So from a subjective opinion, like to miss them in groups, I don't really mind too much, to be honest. Like I might as well just have like one of those like lower tier, I guess. Like I've been enjoying Tombiz a lot like lately. So if he gets to cast the major, for example, like I'd actually be very glad for that. So like from my subjective opinion, I don't mind too much. Like I'm probably gonna miss like those playoffs games where they actually got a lot of the good ones, like insane plays and stuff like that. So that's the thing that I'll probably miss this major, if we get like one of those moments again where you'd feel like, what if like James was casting this game or whatever like that. But that's probably the only angle that I would be disappointed that they aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, just from a technical aspect of casting, I think DDK is pretty good, but I'm not really mega impressed by James's casting. I mean, it's not like he's like a mega great voice, hype, and all of this. Of course, when Simple makes the best play of the world, then okay, it sounds good. But like, there are other casters that are also technically pretty skilled. Maybe did a lot more events in the last year, so people recognize that. See, these guys are hungry. Maybe they should get a shot. I don't know. I mean, maybe some people don't agree. We don't know the whole story anyway, so
some of us don't.
I mean, yeah, we never will. Or maybe we will when someone makes a video about it.
Yeah. One day it will come out. It always does, doesn't it? It always does in some way.
It's just like I agree. I kind of understand like what problems people have with it. Is just that they are among the top 3 like most popular duos. So I understand people's problem with not including those two in the broadcast for the Katowice major.
This isn't some kind of like revenge for the Face It major or something like that. That would be pretty shitty if that was what was going on, because obviously James was there hiring talent, and then some people were not really happy. So I don't know what happened behind the scenes, if someone tried to pull strings to not get them hired for this major. I'm just like, absolute speculation. I have no idea. I just saw this happening now. Don't take this as facts of any sort.
I'm still pissed I didn't get to do anything in my home country, even though I've been a part of CS since 2003, but that's their fucking choice.
Just quickly, in case people are wondering why I don't say anything or haven't said anything. I don't, when I finish a tournament, when I'm at a tournament, when I'm watching people cast, when I'm watching people on the analyst desk, I very rarely, I'm saying very rarely because I can't remember myself ever doing it, but I never praise a tournament organizer. I try to never shit on a tournament organizer, other than I made a couple of funny jokes about the iBuyPower thing recently. I never talk about any casters on social media. I never talk about any analysts, that kind of stuff, because they're my colleagues, and I don't feel it is my position to be saying anything along any of those lines. So that's why I have not given my opinion in this matter, because I don't ever give my opinion in these matters. I don't feel it's my place.
I mean, risks question in the chat is also interesting, but I mean, it has a pretty easy answer. The question is, how can we still not have Dota 2 size talent teams in CSGO? Also, because of the scheduling that we have in CSGO, you don't need to have that many. Like if let's say you have 4 duos, casting duos, that's enough for CS. And it's sure, like the analyst desk could probably use like more people, but then again, like, do we actually have like that many really talented people to be on the analyst desk? That's also another thing. Like, we don't have that many pure analysts that can hold their own on the desk. Like, we have a very few of the top tier ones. So I think that's part of the problem.
What are you saying? Daps was amazing at the Face It major.
Okay, that's a beam.
No offense to Daps, but that wasn't.
No, that was a bad call. Yeah, just because like that's the problem that I have with like experimenting to this level. That you just bring people that have never been on desk, like that have never really worked in front of a camera before. Yeah. So that's kind of the problem that I had with like some of those kind of decisions. Like, sure, players on desks are amazing, and that's probably where you would have to go, like if you wanted to have more analysts. But they obviously can't do it consistently. Like they will only do it like once every few tournaments. Like the players that miss the major, like let's say Kerrigan is invited to the Katowice desk, and I don't know, like maybe he is, I don't know. Like he would obviously be good no matter what, but just like some of these other players just don't know how to work a camera, how to talk about CS. Yeah. They might think about it very well. They might have a very cerebral approach, but they might not be able to present it. And that's like the case with Daps that we saw at the Face of Major for sure.
Oh, I think we can close it off there, boys. I think we've answered enough questions. We've gone on long enough. We've had another episode underway. That is it. HLTV confirmed. What date are we back, boys? What's the next one we're doing?
On the 4th?
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon.
So 5 days from now.
Hopefully, the tournament that's happening next week gets announced, so we can go over that one.
Okay.
Hopefully, I didn't say too much.
I guess. I mean, you literally said nothing other than there's going to be a tournament next week.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been rumored. We saw rumors about it from now.
I mean, some players spoke about it. Said they're going before anything else came.
I saw rumors about a London event.
CIS always leaking stuff.
Yeah. It's just like, we're going to London for an event that hasn't been announced. Everyone's Googling, like, well, what event? What's going on?
I mean, at the same time, like, if it hasn't been announced a week from it happening, like, sure, somebody's going to leak it. Like, it's that is pretty stupid.
I'm also like kind of concerned for that tournament. Like, what kind of a tournament can it be? A week
for it does not be